was at the march.
Yeah. Oh. Okay.
March the whole day. I just didn't go where everybody else was going.
We were like close-ish to the stage, but there was a signal problem. It started to buffer.
Yeah.
It was buffering, and then I stopped the live stream because there was no image. But we managed to interview the people.
Thanks, people.
Yeah, that was good. It was a good atmosphere.
I didn't
Picnic.
see a live stream at all.
Yeah, it was. Huh? No, Ricky Dillon. No, I didn't record Ricky Dillon.
Where shall we?
Here, where?
I was thinking, should we move over to that corner over there?
Where the flag is?
Yeah, like
Alright.
where it curves in.
Right.
Because here's a big crowd.
Cool. Okay, cool. I'll be back for my camera then.
The young Muslim over
Brother.
there talking to the guy in grey, he's quite receptive.
Yeah.
There's a young guy at this table, the table here.
Hey family, sorry for the delay. We got some technical issues, but now we're back. We are back from the future. Brother Bob Seale is here, Rev in the house, Mikey in the house. Who else is in the house? Yeah, team is over there as well, in the house. And I hope everyone's having a lovely Sunday. It is sunny today. Brother T there, team in the house. Yeah, took a run. Only one. Oh, 1 + 1 is 1.
1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 equals 1. So look, man, the Muslims want to talk to us about the Trinity. I think they need to solve their problem first with the 7 ahruf. They
Okay.
said there's one Quran, but it was revealed in 7 ways.
Yeah.
There's 7 different versions of the Quran.
It is.
And then that's not even talking about the Qur'an. Like,
Wow.
what is this? This is what I want to know from the Muslims today.
It's a
So
big dilemma. So
God
yeah.
bless you, JC. Anyway,
God bless you. I'll be back,
I
yeah.
might be here today for the day.
Don't worry, bro. I got another camera there, so when you're ready, we'll record something, okay?
Do your thing.
God bless you. God bless you, Timmy. Yeah, keep Timmy in your prayers, family. We got the modelists here. We got the modelists. Apparently, Orlando is telling everyone that I didn't help him build the channel, calling me a liar, that I'm doing this for the money. All nonsense. I haven't seen the video, but if I need to do a reaction or response video, I will do it. And in terms of not helping him build
I
his
wasn't
channel,
joining in your beef then. I just thought it was funny.
no, it's good.
I wasn't joining in your beef with them. Like.
No,
I've got
no.
no idea what your beef is.
Okay, yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, if I need to bring the receipts to expose Orlando as a liar, then I will have to do it. But yeah, man, it's a lot of sectarianism happening. But anyway, share the link code. Share the link code. Hit the like code. Like it's supposed to be. Hello everyone. Put mic on Bob. Okay. Wait, Bob. See la.
Oh, yeah. We good?
Right.
Yeah? I'm well, thank you. How are you? Good. Peace be with you. Christ is risen. I'll just wait for the say-so from the cameras. Are we good? Are we good? We good? Freddie, we good? Okay, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to talk about yesterday's Unite the Kingdom March and my experiences about the Unite the Kingdom March that I attended yesterday.
So do we.
Attended. Now, I'll be honest, I don't know how many people. I haven't got an estimate of how many people attended from the ground without seeing any overhead visuals. It did feel like it was a smaller affair than the previous one, but I haven't seen any overhead projections. If you want to try and guess how many people came, compare the overhead shots of the Unite the Kingdom March to the Notting Hill Festival. Because the Notting Hill Festival is annually attended by about 2 million people.
At least.
So if the crowds of the Unite the Kingdom March look as dense as the Notting Hill Festival and as wide and as broad in the streets that it encompasses, then you can probably guess that we're talking about millions of people, not tens of thousands of people. Now, I went on that march, obviously, because I care about this country and I care about the things that are happening in this country. They didn't go because they were racists. And if they were racists, then they're a weird alliance of racists. Because I saw black people on the march, I saw mixed race people on the march, I saw Indians on the march, I saw Iranians on the march. Now, if you've got that multi-ethnic alliance of people marching, the question is, Who are they being towards? Were we all being racist to one another? That makes absolutely no sense at all. Now, the answer of the progressives is that we were being racist to Muslims. Now, that's weird, because if you ask any Muslim in this park, is Islam a race? They're going to say no. Islam is not a race, and so therefore Muslims are not a race, and so therefore you cannot be racist against Muslims, ladies and gentlemen. This is common sense, of course, to everyone with two brain cells, but the progressives don't have two brain cells amongst them. And so our great leader, the tyrant, Sir Keir Starmer, our Starmer, went on for a week, ladies and gentlemen, talking about how this patriotic protest was there to spread hatred and division and was made up of thugs. These thugs obviously included 80-year-old grandmothers, ladies and gentlemen. It was obviously a lie to speak to a voter base that the Labour Party is losing. Why did he want to sound so muscular and sound so strong against the patriotic movement? It's because he's losing votes on the left to the Muslim independent vote and to the Green Party. And so he's trying to set himself up and the Labour Party up as the opposition to the nasty racists of Tommy Robinson to try and win back votes from the Greens and the Muslim independents. But what he doesn't seem to understand, ladies and gentlemen, is that people can see past the lies. When you watch videos, ladies and gentlemen, of a multi-ethnic mass of people all marching with Tommy Robinson, it clearly is not about race. No! Let's look at some of the agenda points of the Unite the Kingdom March. They argued in favour of freedom of speech. Put your hand up if you are in favour of freedom of speech. Put your hand up. People of different ethnicities care about freedom of speech because it is a common good. It's a good for every kind of people. Isn't it ironic that on the pro-Palestine march that also happened yesterday, they were complaining about how free speech was being clamped down upon. Weird that, isn't it? That the nasty racists of Tommy Robinson are talking about an issue that is a concern to the anti-racist march that marched on that Saturday as well. They also talked about controlling mass illegal immigration. Stop the boats was a common chant. Put your hands up if you don't agree that our borders should just be penetrated by criminal gangs, ladies and gentlemen, and that our immigration policy should be dictated to by crooks and villains working from the continent. That, ladies and gentlemen, is not a racial concern. That is a national concern about borders. And there are many legal immigrants who have come to this country having done all the paperwork and paid all the bills and jumped through all the hoops, who feel that they have been cheated because they've done everything right and paid thousands of pounds to come to this country legally, and then they are watching illegal immigrants come in and get literally the 5-star treatment. How is it not a concern to point out the injustice that many of the homeless streets are ex-servicemen from our armed forces who end up sleeping rough and they don't get free hotels. They get left on the street to die of cold. They get left on the street to have drugs pushed onto them by drug pushers and to be pissed by people who care about the homeless. Why is it not fair or just or right to point out the injustice of illegal immigration into this country? What was another concern of that march? They wanted to point out the plight, ladies and gentlemen, of millions of Christians in Nigeria who are being butchered and slaughtered by Islamists in northern Nigeria. A real genocide that is happening that our liberal elites don't want to talk about. That is, this patriotic movement is standing up for an African Christian population in another country. How is that racist, ladies and gentlemen? And if you're a Christian, you should absolutely care about the genocides of Christian populations around the world, ladies and gentlemen. That is our fight, ladies and gentlemen.
It is.
What was another one of the concerns that they wanted to talk about at the Unite the Kingdom March? They wanted to talk about the abuses of an Islamist Iranian regime that has killed tens of thousands of its own citizens. That's how racist these patriots are, that they actually care about what's happening to Muslims in a Muslim country, ladies and gentlemen. But they are speaking up for the Iranians who are suffering under the Ayatollahs, ladies and gentlemen. What was another one of the topics that the Unite the Kingdom wanted to talk about? They wanted to talk about Islamization, ladies and gentlemen, and how in our country there is an ideology being pushed that will, if it comes to dominate, reduce every non-Muslim into being a second-class citizen in this land. Because that is what Sharia law teaches, that you will be made a second-class citizen because you are not a Muslim. And if you are a Muslim, you will also be made a second-class citizen. Different laws for different people under Sharia law. Whereas what was the patriotic movement for? One law for all and equality of all under the law. Which one do you choose, ladies and gentlemen? Because the progressives have a blind spot. They don't want to stand up to an apartheid system if that apartheid system is called Islam, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I want to point out that there were racists trying to attach themselves to the patriotic movement. They were there, waiting for the crowds to pass, handing out leaflets talking about Britain becoming a white minority. And they were an ethno-nationalism. I want to encourage every patriot to tear them up and to chuck them in the bin, and that we must guard the patriot movement against the actual who are trying to infiltrate and take over the patriot movement, ladies and gentlemen. But there was something else there in the patriot movement. I saw an ocean of Christians on that march, ladies and gentlemen. People carrying crosses, people evangelizing, giving out gospels, giving out books explaining the Christian position on immigration and pointing out the Christian heritage of the patriotic songs that were sung on the stage. And the progressives of this world, the Gary Linekers of this world, describe those Christians as Christo-fascists, ladies and gentlemen, thus betraying that in the heart of the left is a Christophobia that needs to be challenged by Christians. Because why are Christians being villainized for standing up for their desire to see a Christian country that lives and borrows and builds upon a Christian identity and makes Christian laws according to Christian values? Why is it that when the Muslims do it, the left never say Islamofascist, but when the Christians do it, the left are quick to say Christofascist? You must call out the Christophobia of the left, ladies and gentlemen. And let's be clear, Christian nationalism is here, and it is here to stay. And there is no one that is going to stop us, and there is no one that is going to end our movement. To grow everywhere in the USA, everywhere in Europe. And we're going to build a new Christian civilization. Let's be clear, ladies and gentlemen. Within the patriotic movement, different kinds of nationalism vying to guide the movement. There are traditional, classical, liberal nationalists who celebrate the institutional history of the United Kingdom. They celebrate the Nelsons and the Wellingtons and the Admiral Jerichos of this country. Celebrate its history and its culture. But they have a shallow understanding of how that culture was framed and fashioned by its Christian heritage. Those liberal nationalists don't have a knowledge of Britain that goes beyond the 1790s, ladies and gentlemen. There's another kind of nationalism, a dangerous kind of nationalism that is seeking to penetrate the patriot movement, and that is ethno-nationalism. You can always spot the ethno-nationalists because they blame the Jews for everything. And they lump all the Celts and all the Saxons and all the Norsemen and all the Normans into the white blob that they call a race, and they want to make us afraid that we white people are being replaced. That is a lie. No one is replacing the white people of these lands. The white people of these lands simply stopped having children. And the fix is as easy as the problem. Stop abortion, stop contraception, and end the hedonistic culture that value sex over family creation, and then there will be no disappearance of the white man. It's got nothing to do with immigration. Immigration is a symptom of the problem, not the problem itself. But there is a third kind of nationalism, vying to guide the patriot movement and vying to guide the United Kingdom, and that is Christian nationalism. What is Christian nationalism? It is the idea of the church. Put your hand up if you're part of the church. Go on, don't be shy. Different people of different colours. The church is a nation itself, not a nation of blood and soil, but a nation of the sacrament of baptism and Holy Communion, a nation of the Spirit of God, a nation of the Lordship of Christ that seeks the kingdom of God on earth and to disciple nations in the teachings of Christ. That therefore, as a nation, as a people, the Christians can pursue their political, economic, cultural and social interests as according to their own identity in the world, in society, and seek a Christian civilization. If, by the grace of God, the church should control the levers of the state and government and parliament, that it should organise the state according to those values, those beliefs that are Christian and congruent to a Christian worldview. Now, ladies and gentlemen, versus these three kinds of nationalism, what do we have as the alternative? A Marxist internationalism, ladies and gentlemen, that turn the British state into a shared property of everybody in the world and sees the resources of the United Kingdom as nothing but a spreadsheet that everyone everywhere is entitled to some share of it, no matter how much it impoverishes and harms the people born here, living here, working here, and building our society. We mustn't just renationalise some economies, we must renationalise the state itself according to the doctrines of Christian nationalism, ladies and gentlemen. That is the challenge that we face. And that is the challenge that we Christians must commit ourselves to. Do not listen to the cowardly church leaders at Christian Premier Radio or at the Evangelical Alliance. Here's looking at you, Danny Webster. Do not listen to the captured, syncretized, compromised Christian establishments to villainize Christian nationalism. Listen to the authentic voices of Christian nationalism, and whether your pastors like it or not, commit yourself to the project of Christian nationalism. Thank you very much. Is there any water?
Nothing?
Any questions going once? It'll have to be a fresh bottle, but thank you. Any questions going once?
Well, how can we as individual believers, not as leaders of a church, I'm from Australia,
Us.
and to meet you,
Yeah.
in fact, but as an individual Christian who's led a sinful life, who's both my religious, where religion meets politics, you're telling me what I know.
How does an individual...
How does an individual, rather than as a church in our individual lives, how do we promote Christian nationalism?
Okay.
Hope the sun is.
How do you as individuals promote Christian nationalism? The first thing that you need to do is get familiar with the definition. The definition of Christian nationalism is that the church, the people of God, the covenantal people of the New Covenant, the New Testament, are a people. And as a people, we have interests, social, political, economic and cultural. And insofar as your resources, skills and your abilities allow you to pursue or support the pursuance of those political, economic, cultural and social interests, you Let me give you an example, a concrete example. It is a political interest of the church to help the persecuted church. So therefore, anything you can do to support the persecuted church or support those who are supporting the persecuted church, you should do. It is an economic interest of Christians to support Christian businesses. So therefore, anything that you can do to support businesses or to support those who are supporting Christian businesses, you should do as an individual. And when you come across a problem that is too big for you as an individual, then you start to shoot up the flares and draw together the networks of those who share your concern, and then you form bigger and bigger and bigger alliances of Christians until there are enough bodies tackling the problem. Next question, ladies and gentlemen. Go on, sir.
What does this Christian nationalist state look like? Is it majority Christian or is it 100% Christian?
Right, ladies and gentlemen. A Christian nationalist state would look like if, by the grace of God, the rulers of the state follow the ideology of Christian nationalism. Now, how they get there depends upon the circumstances. I hope for a democratic change of government that leads to a Christian nationalist government that is democratically elected and then begins to govern according to the principles of Christian nationalism. And before anyone says to you, but not everybody's Christian, I want to point out to you that the vast majority of people in this country are not socialist. The vast majority of people in this country are not environmentalist. And the vast majority of people in this country are not market economists. But yet we never object when those ideologies have governed us in the past with the complaint that not everybody shares that ideology. I hope that answers your question, sir. Any other questions on the topic? Thanks, brother. Any other questions on Christian nationalism? Go on.
Isn't the bigger problem with the declining birth rate? Doesn't it more have to do with economics?
So the sister makes a good point. The declining birth rates in the West is to a large extent influenced by the failure of the economic systems in the West, ladies and gentlemen. Those strains upon our economy have been exasperated by decades of abortion. The reason why, gentlemen, is because as a society, we are making choices to fund the welfare state that rewards individual work shyness rather than funding families and the creation of families. If we redirected our tax system to support families and the creation of families, individual work shyness, or a NHS that forever and ever and ever tries to keep you alive from every possible disease, we would see families having children. And when we have children, we populate our economy and our society and our culture. The Bible teaches that a dearth of children leads to the death of a nation. It's not rocket science, but if our politicians followed the Bible and valued the things of the Bible, our country would not be in the state that it is now. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah, of course you can. No, let him ask his question.
What if, as I, as a Christian nationalist, accept my responsibilities late in life to do what I can to work for the kingdom in the way you describe, because that's what I take you as describing, and I find the political system in which I'm participating, my efforts in that are going to be fruitless. They're going to be fruitless principally because half the population don't go out to vote. For all kinds of reasons.
Okay, go on. Yep.
So, in my Christian conscience, I take the view that I'm entitled, am I? Let me frame it as a question. Am I entitled to engage in political activity that isn't necessarily founded on a democratic solution? If I think that's just not viable.
I think you seem to be asking whether you can use violence to overthrow the state.
No, I'm not.
Okay, fair enough.
There are alternatives.
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, we live in a democracy, but most of you as Christians do not use the fullness of the rights that you have. And because you have not filled up the space of the rights that you have, your rights are contracting. Because you allowed the establishment to shrink your rights, because you allowed a culture to develop in which you were not using all of your rights all of the time and to the fullest effect. Ladies and gentlemen, there used to be a time where the church celebrated its heroes, and its heroes were the villains of society, ladies and gentlemen. But now, because of a bunch of weak, feckless, limp-wristed, insipid leaders, the church no longer celebrates controversial Christian heroes. Don't celebrate the Christian villains anymore because we want to look respectable. Ladies and gentlemen, Jesus did not look respectable. St. Paul did not look respectable. St. Ignatius did not look respectable. St. Valentine did not look respectable. St. Anselm did not look respectable. Ladies and gentlemen, the church must get back to using the fullness of its rights, even if in so doing so it sacrifices respectability. And we must rally to the cause of the martyrs and the confessors who are suffering faith, even if our society villainizes them and says that they are the bigots. We must lift them up as the heroes. And we must develop a culture of martyrdom in our churches once again. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen?
Questions from the chat.
Muslims here today trying to justify Muhammad marrying Aisha at 6, pointing to scriptures, saying that Rebecca was 3 years old when she married Isaac. So it's not specifically mentioned in the Bible that she was 3, but they point out something happened when he was 37, and then you know what I'm talking about. And then
I understand. Shall I?
yeah, please.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, in this park today, the Muslim Dawah gang has been stung by the fact that their prophet married a 6-year-old girl and had sex with her when she was 9, and that hurts them. Why does it hurt them? Because they say that Muhammad is the best example for today in how you have sex with 9-year-olds, ladies and gentlemen. And that's problematic, ladies and gentlemen. In response to that, they have come up with a convoluted defense based upon a misrepresentation of the story of Rebecca in Genesis, in which they lie and try to suggest that Rebecca was 3 years old. The passage that they are referring to literally describes Rebecca as a woman. It uses the word woman to describe Rebecca and talks about Rebecca pulling buckets of water out of a well. How many 3-year-olds do you know that can pull multiple buckets of water out of a well to feed animals, ladies and gentlemen, and can have adult levels of conversation with an adult about adult things, as is recorded in Genesis? We all know the answer is none. But yet, in their desperation, these Doagandists, in a feeble attempt to protect their paedophile prophet, have had to lie about Rebecca, lie about the Bible, because if they can't, they are stuck with the fact that their prophet is the only paedophile prophet that is celebrated by any world religion apart from the Mormons. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? No, let someone else ask a question, sister. Any other questions?
I'm just interested in what can you expand on the role?
Joseph Smith also married an underage girl. He didn't just marry an underage girl, but just like Muhammad, he used his status as a prophet to justify it. One of his followers was told by Joseph Smith to leave his underage girl under the protection of Joseph Smith. And Joseph Smith said that that was by God. And that then Joseph Smith said to that little girl, God has told me that you should marry me, and that if you don't, you're going to burn in hell. Ladies and gentlemen, the little girl ended up marrying Joseph Smith. That is exactly like Muhammad, who said to the father of Aisha that he wanted to marry Aisha. And Muhammad said, she's too young and you're too old. But Muhammad pointed out that he's a prophet. And so obviously, the father of Muhammad had to give way. But yet, when an elderly man wanted to marry the daughter, Fatima, of the Prophet, he said to his follower that you're too old to marry my daughter. All of this was justified by the fact that Muhammad was a prophet. This, in the church, we call spiritual abuse. It's no different from when a Roman Catholic priest takes a little child into a confessional box and then uses their authority as a priest to abuse the child. It's exactly the same. And if we condemn it in the Roman Catholic Church, and we should, and if we condemn it in Joseph Smith, as we should, then we should also condemn it in Muhammad, as we should, ladies and gentlemen. Any other questions? Any other questions going once? Did you have another question?
When he married Rebecca, and something when he was 37, it seems clear that she was free. So
The passages that they are using ignore. They are using when they quote passages trying to give us the age of Rebecca. The reason why these passages don't work is because Scripture is not a videotape. Doesn't record incidents in sequence like you're recording now on these cameras. It mashes together sequences of events that can be separated by years or days or months or hours. We see it in Jesus' life. Put your hand up if you know that most scholars believe Jesus' ministry was 3 years long. Do you honestly believe that when you're reading the gospel, any gospel, that you're looking at 3 years worth of life? No, of course you're not. And it's the same with Genesis. And so these passages that they are using your ignorance of literature and how literature works to tell a story than it does based upon what the Bible is teaching, and they are ignoring clear passages that show and state in black and white that Rebecca was a woman. Ladies and gentlemen, any other questions? Go on, sister.
Oh, you're going to love this one, Bob. How can you be absolutely certain that the God of the Old Testament was the absolute highest power and not just an entity that happened to have a lot more power than human beings?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. How do we know that Yahweh is the high God?
The highest.
There is, if I'm saying high, there is no higher. How do we know that Yahweh is the high God? Yahweh claims to be the creator of all things. Yahweh claims to be the savior of all souls. Yahweh claims to be the former of all life. Yahweh claims to be the embodiment of all virtue, all goodness, all righteousness. He makes these claims, and we know of no other God that claims the same and says that there is a lesser God doing the work that he does. There is other gods that claim to be the high God. Allah claims to be the high God, but Allah does not claim that there are lesser gods. And Yahweh does not claim that there are lesser gods. And so your question is defeated, because there is no God out there claiming that there are lesser gods doing work for them. There are lots of gods claiming to be high gods, but there are no gods claiming to be the high God, the sole creator, that then have other gods operating as vice regents under them. Such religions, as you have described, would be comparable to the Gnostics of antiquity, and those religions have all died out. If those devotees were devotees of the true God, then their God is pretty powerless, because their religion has died out, and the Christian faith is one of the greatest faiths in the world today. Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? Any other questions going once? Going twice? Going 3 times? Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention. Thank you.
Can I thank you for all you're doing?
Yes, bro.
You've really inspired so many people over in Australia.
Thanks, Peter God.
It's been a real country that I want to meet you.
Well, I mean, now you have.
What can I do for the advancement of the kingdom? I'm 68 years old. I'm a retired judge.
Yeah.
I can't find any spiritual satisfaction in any of been in an Anglican church. I was on the church council.
Yep.
I had to leave it because they, I don't know whether you've heard of a rugby flag, Israel Folau.
Yep.
But they criticised, there's a preacher got up, a minister, a temporary minister, a Logan Tennant's got
Yeah.
up, and he preached against Israel Folau
Yeah.
in this wonderful church.
Yeah.
And I said, we've got to discipline.
Yes.
I said, you know, I'm not going to throw him out necessarily.
Yeah.
To get him in, you've got to tell him that's not Christian teaching.
Yeah.
Homosexuality. They wouldn't do it.
Well, I would just say that your mistake was to leave. I would have advised you to stay and to fight your corner and to continue to be that voice for orthodoxy in your local church. So the thing that you could do as a former judge is, one, use your experience and your credibility as a former judge to call out the injustices within the judicial system of Australia. Because if Australia goes the way of England, soon you're going to get corrupt judges and two-tier justice if you haven't got it already. So speak as a former judge into that. The second thing that you can do is get yourself back onto a church council, maybe at your new church, and no matter if you see the drift, be that anchor to orthodoxy that you need to be. These are two things that you can do straight away to speak out, to fight out. Another thing that you could do, you could obviously fund, you know, because as a judge, I'm sure you've got a nice pension.
I don't actually.
All right, fair enough. I'm making assumptions.
I don't know.
Yeah, but that's another thing. You can fund Christians that are doing work if you can afford it. You can pray for Christians, obviously that's a given. And you can get involved in Christian movements, you know, Christian political parties. Because as a former judge, you'll lend credibility to those Christian political parties by being one of their councillors, one of their members of parliament. You know, you're a respectable character, so you could stand as a respectable
British citizen, so I can't. They've changed it there, so I can't.
Yeah.
Up until a few years ago, as a British citizen, I could have stood for the House of Representatives. They changed that.
Yeah.
I can't do that. Can I say I led in my state, South Australia, I instituted a judicial review against the emergency declaration that authorised all the COVID stuff.
Yeah.
We were going to be successful and they changed the law.
Yeah. Well, that's how you do it. Another thing that you could do is use your knowledge and experience of the law to train Christians in Australia about Australian law and their rights of the law and how to use the rights of the law to their advantage. Yeah? So, for instance, I'll give you an example and then I'll let you come back in. There's a group called the Five Pillars who use the law to get many of the Patriot speakers banned from this country by organising mass protest letters to the Home Office demanding that certain speakers got banned. Christians need to organise to that effect so that we can, for instance, get Islamist speakers banned from coming in our countries. Someone like you could teach them how to do that. So that's another way that you can do it. Every one of us needs to use our skills and our abilities and our knowledge and our resources to equip the church to do the work of the kingdom of God. And so that applies as much to you as a judge or a former judge as it does to me as an evangelist, and that's ways you can do it.
Thank you. Can I just say I've acted pro bono since I retired early.
Yeah.
I've acted pro bono for a number of people like psychiatrists in hospitals who've been sacked because of gender, not going along with the gender madness. Other people as well facing other problems as Christians. I just find that the system is so deviously constructed. They put a lot of thought into these systems.
Yeah.
These leftist ideologues seem to be referred to, and I find I'm spending my life doing that sort of thing, but to no tangible result. People are happy, grateful that I do it.
Then what you need to be doing is that you need to be advising Christians about which laws they need to change. So you need to be advising Christians what are this tangle of web that the progressives have created, and you need to encourage them by helping them identify which laws they need to get rid of or which changes to the law that they make. need to make. And we need to do, when we get in power, we need to do what the left has done with the law. We need to use it to our advantage and to our cause. And someone like you could help advise, train, and inform the Christian community about how to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's something I'll put a lot of thought to.
Yes.
We've got one party in Australia that's it's called One Nation. So
Yeah.
We've got Labor and Liberal.
Yeah.
It's Labor and the Tories as they were.
The Uni Party of Australia.
And we've got another party called One Nation that's led by a brave lady called Pauline Hanson.
Yeah, I know about her.
But she's not a Christian.
Yeah.
She's and she's got colleagues and advisors who I so.
Well, the other thing to do is get involved with, you know, One Nation Party, and then evangelise the non-Christians within it. That's another thing you could do. All right.
Real encouragement. Thank
Good.
you.
It doesn't matter how old we are, doesn't matter what our skills or abilities are, every one of us can get involved in the fight.
Thank you, Bob. And
All right.
just lastly, is there an even? Where do you recommend I go for an even song service time?
An evening song.
One that's
St.
one that
James.
you'd go to.
Well, St. James, Sussex Gardens. It's near Paddington. It's 5 minutes walk from Paddington. St. James, Sussex Gardens.
Thank you so much.
All right. God bless.
Mate Andy, so he's really admired.
Well, tell Andy I send my love. God bless. Yeah. Do you want to?
So would you recommend the same church for church services?
I would recommend a number of churches in London. So I'd recommend Kensington Temple.
Yes.
I'd recommend St. Helens Bishopgate. You can just look at the recording, sister, when it gets published. You can just play the recording back. So I'd recommend Kensington Temple, St. Helens Bishopgate, All Souls Church, St. James Sussex Gardens, St. Mark's Coptic Church in Kensington, the London Tabernacle in Elephant and Castle, Grace Waterloo Church, the Westminster Chapel, also St. Patrick's, Soho. There you go, whole bunch of churches right there, but you'll have to get the playback. Okay, anybody else want to chat?
Will it be on YouTube?
It'll be going up on YouTube here. If you look on this channel, you'll find it. There you go.
Thank you.
Do you want to chat? I do. Yeah.
I've been watching from Australia, so can always get
No problem. Thank you very much. God bless you, bro. There you go. There you go. Yeah. You want to chat? Sorry? You're okay. Okay, fair enough. Have you got something to say? No? Just.
What do you think about Palestine?
What do I think about Palestine? I think that Palestine will be a healthier, safer country when Hamas is destroyed. I think that Palestine, I believe that Gaza should be free because Israel gave up its right to Gaza. Yeah, you don't remember Israel unilaterally pulled out of Gaza. At that point, Israel gave up its rights to Gaza, and so at that point they admitted to the world that Gaza belongs to the Palestinians. And so I support the idea of a Palestinian independent state, but I don't support the idea of a terrorist state. I believe that Gaza is a terrorist state and that it needs to be the Islamists need to be removed, and that Israel should work with Palestinian and Jewish Christians inside of Israel to evangelize Gaza, to bring it to Christ, to de-radicalize it, but then once it has done so, to respect its autonomy and its freedom and its independence. As for the West Bank, I believe that settlers and extremists should be brought under control, that their criminal elements should be punished, but also that the Palestinian Authority should to respect all the rights of Palestinian Christians who are often discriminated against by the Palestinian authorities, and that when Palestinian Christians have full and freedom to evangelize Muslims without any form of harassment, then and only then Israel
you think about Palestine individually? Do you think they'll do well? Do you think they'll fare well?
I think if Palestine was governed by a Christian ethic and not an Islam, it would be. Because if you look at Gaza and look at how many tens of millions of pounds were just given to the Gazans over the last 20 years, they could have developed a powerful Mediterranean economy. But they didn't. Were more filled with hatred for Jewish people and for Israeli citizens than they were for love for own Gazan citizens. Now, Christianity would make a difference, because Christianity, unlike works upon a principle of love, Islam works upon a principle of hatred. And so, if the Gazans were governed by a Christian ethic, they would love their own more than they hate the Jews. They would love their own people more than they hate the Israelis, and they would have spent that money not from one end of Gaza, not spent that endless amounts of missiles to launch into Gaza, not spent endless amount of money training people in horrible atrocities like the 7th, but to actually build a successful peace that benefited the Gazan people. And the thing is, if they had done that, their case against Israel would have sounded louder in ears like mine. I would have been more sympathetic. But because with Islamists, they have brought upon themselves the destruction that they're facing now. And until the Gazans free themselves from that hatred, they will continue.
You think judgment is fair?
Yes.
Because you know, in each culture and tribe and clan, there's their own individual beliefs that are governed by God.
Yes.
So do you think that God is fair on all mankind?
Yes, that's exactly why Sharia is a load of rubbish. Because Sharia law does everyone by the same law.
No,
It creates distinct.
Sharia
Wait,
itself-
hold on. There's only one truth, right? There's not multiple different truths. It's not like for Muslims, Christianity's true for Christians, Judaism's true for Jews, right? Because by that logic, that means Hinduism, Baha'ism's true for Baha'is, and both me and you know that. I talk to Baha'is all the time. I used to talk to them. I tell them that they're friendly. I meet in this park.
What do you talk to a Muslim?
What do I talk to a Muslim?
What do you talk to a Muslim about?
Anything that they want to talk about. You're talking to me about Israel and Palestine, and so I talk to you about Israel and Palestine.
About the world right now?
What do I many things, many things. You know, do you want a list? I've got a huge list of things that I dislike about the world.
Do you start with Muslims?
No, of course not. As a Christian, as an evangelist, I reach out to Muslims all the time, right? You can't reach out to people if you hate them, right? There's plenty of racists in this world who'll just go, you don't belong here, and they won't even bother to try and talk to you. Let me finish, right? As a Christian, before I came to this park, I was sat having a cup with a right, and we were sat.
Do you hate Christians?
Let me finish. Let me finish. You've asked a question. It's incumbent upon you to listen to the answer. Don't rush to your.
It's not incumbent.
Yeah. So, I love Muslims sincerely, right? I love them all. But I also recognise that there are some Muslims who are just dangerous. And they're dangerous because they buy into Islamic ideology.
They buy into what Islamist ideologies that makes them dangerous?
Let's be clear, it's all Muslims I'm talking about. Have you registered that? Not all Muslims that I'm talking about. Have you registered that fact? Good. So what makes, no, not kind of. Yeah. I'm not going to let you stick me in a box. Yeah. In terms of what makes some me to a discriminated subject that dhimmi, right? And under that dhimmi, literally protected. But what it means really from Islamic State. So you pay your jizya, doesn't kill you. That is what about Islam. Believe in that dhimmitude, and those Muslims should be opposed. If you're one of those Muslims, I don't think there's a place for you in this country. I want you out of this country.
Because this country.
If you're not one of those Muslims, there's a place for you in this country. So, do you like the idea that I should, or do you want to see me as a dhimmi, a second-class citizen? That's not answering the question. Do you want me to be?
I just learned it about it from you.
Okay, so I'm teaching you Islam.
I think you're. I am.
Okay. So you deny that Muhammad is a prophet?
I deny that by definition.
I mean, this
The
sounds.
prophet means a prophet to mankind, right? As in prophet, like he was a.
No, not prophet.
Was he a prophet?
Was he a messenger? No. Stop playing word games. Do you believe?
Yes.
So you were a Muslim. Why are you pretending not to be a Muslim?
I'm saying because he made a message. That's why he sent a message down to mankind.
So you believe that he's a messenger?
I'm a Muslim. Because the definition of word Muslim means a submitter to God.
These sophistic games, dawah games. 2 minutes ago, you said to my face, "You're not a Muslim." And now, later, you're a Muslim. And honest, and you'll look less silly.
No,
He is a messenger.
yeah, I follow his message.
So you follow his message, you say he's a messenger, but you don't say you're a Muslim.
He says stuff about. He says stuff about.
Okay, let's. Right, Bob, as I'm sure you know. Whether you want to be a Muslim or not. Right? You're asking some Muslim. I'm telling you that any Muslim, one or not, wants to turn me, second-class citizen as a dhimmi, is a United Kingdom. They should all out of our land. By the use of the law, not aggressively. You're out, right? And only those Muslims that they don't agree. Now let me ask you a question. You say that Muhammad is a messenger. Me to say to you, to convince you Muhammad was not a messenger of God.
He did that made him a diverter.
A diverter of
And
yeah, I know.
so the fact that he's human tells me that he sent down a message to mankind with the intention of a message to mankind, and that's how it's been reciprocated by billions of people. So for us to say no to that is denying the fact that us as people, we respect. It's evident.
Okay, so you've set me a fair challenge. So let me give you my. What can I offer to demonstrate that Muhammad is a diverter from truth? From the truth. Okay. Establish what we mean by the truth. Is that matches reality? truth is, do we accept the truth? Yep.
And that
Yes, fine. Okay. That I wouldn't. That's poetic. I'm just talking about.
okay, sorry.
Message of Christianity, a very factual message. Christianity says Jesus was crucified. Islam says Jesus was not crucified. Do you agree both of those statements can't both be true?
Say that again, sorry.
So Christianity claims that Christ was crucified, yeah? Islam claims that that Christ was not crucified. Do you agree with me
Yeah.
that both of those statements can't be true?
I'll tell you.
Yeah. Do you agree it can't be both night and statement is or he isn't? So one of those statements is true and the other one is false. Agreed?
Christians
Yes.
celebrate.
Yes. Just getting a bit of fluff off your hood.
Christians celebrate the sadness of Christ, the death of Christ, while Muslims celebrate the positive aspects of Christ, and Christians celebrate the. I'm unaware of the fact.
Do you what, sorry?
I'm unaware of the fact. I think.
Okay, so let me just tell you, in the Quran, it says in black and white, Jesus was not crucified. And in the Bible, it says in black and white, Jesus was crucified. These are two contradictory statements, like saying it is night or it is day. They can't both be true. Now, if there are two statements that contradict, say there's a fight in this park, right? And person A says person B hit me, and person B says person A hit me first. What's the policeman going to do?
He's going to arrest the one. I'm unaware. I'm a bit diverted by this.
Okay, so what the policeman's going to do is going to look for witnesses, and he's going to look to see what the witnesses say. And if all the witnesses say that person A was the one that punched person B, then that means that he's going to arrest person A. Agreed? So that's how you do it. Like, if there's two conflicting claims, you look for other evidence.
That's true, yeah, but that just means that the justice system is a bit broken.
That after you, right?
That just means the justice system is a bit broken, because if person A can lie and person B can lie, and then they'll bring the solicitor on that can lie.
No, it's not a solicitor; it's a witness.
Or a witness.
Yeah.
A witness is a solid thing.
Correct.
However, you see, when we focus on the right aspects of the law, and not the, like, as in not the articulated.
I'll come find you.
When we focus on the apparent and not the mind, and not our feelings and the truth of the matter is and the reality of things, then we lose our point. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
but what I'm trying to say to you is that when we investigate something and we get contradictory information, we look for third sources of information to try and figure out the truth.
but
That's
you see
what we
all
always
all
do.
those words and jargons, they kind of
They're not
divert
jargon.
it and put it in a.
Have you
and
got
put it in a-
brothers?
in a weird bubble.
Have you got brothers?
I don't have brothers.
Brothers or sisters or sons or daughters, or like, if you're in a situation where two people are looking to you for a judgment and one person is saying something that contradicts the other person, right? You'd look for some third source of evidence to see who's telling the truth between the two contradictory persons, wouldn't you? Because that's just what we do.
Sorry, say that again.
Okay. It's all right. So if you are asked to adjudicate between two people that are making opposite claims, right? You're going to look for third evidence. right? That third evidence might be a videotape, it might be a recording, it might be another witness, it might be a book, it might be a reference, or it just might be your own eyes. Yeah? You might say, well, I'm sorry, I saw you do this. In which case, you're the third witness, right? Okay, right. And when it comes to what the Quran claims about the crucifixion and what the Bible claims about the crucifixion, we are in that situation. And when we look at third evidence, third-party evidence, we have the third-party evidence. It was written by Roman pagans and it was written by Jews. Roman pagans who were persecuting Christians and Jews who were persecuting Christians. So not the friends of Christians. But those Roman pagans and those Jews agree with Christians that Christ was crucified.
Yes.
Right. Now, if pagans and Jews who are persecutors of Christians agree with Christians that Christ was crucified, then we have really good reason to know that Christ was crucified. And if Christ was crucified, Islam is false. The message of Islam is false because Muhammad has deviated from the truth, because the truth is a description of the reality, a description of what really happened. So that's your reason to see that Muhammad is not a messenger of Allah.
Say that last point again, just so I can.
Okay, yeah, because you said he's not a messenger of Allah if he deviates from the truth. And we said the truth is that which describes reality. The leaves are green, right?
And my point was about that. The leaves.
No, hold on. I'm just going to the last bit. So, because pagan Romans and Jews who are both persecuting Christians agree with Christians that Christ was crucified, then that means when the Quran says Christ was not crucified, the Quran is false because it is not describing what really happened, so it's not describing the truth, which is by your standards showing that Muhammad is not a messenger telling the truth. Does that make sense? Yeah. I mean, it was lovely talking to you. Have you got any other questions?
Yeah.
Go on.
No, it was lovely talking to you.
All right, let me just give you a gift, Ramin, just to show you that I really do love Muslims and I have got no beef with them as people at all. So this is a Gospel of Mark for you. It's my gift to you. Have a read of it and come back and talk to me again. All right? Okay, anybody else who wants to have a chat before I go and find the communist? Right, if no one else wants to have a chat, I'm going to go and find the communist. God bless you, brother.
Watch you from Spain. Muy bien.
Bien, sí, me gusta. Yo tengo muchas oportunidades para practicar.
Bueno, pero muy bien, muy bien.
Sí, gracias.
God bless you.
Estoy buscando para la comunista.
Comunistas, what about the guy?
No, the other one. Where is he? Heiko, where is he? Where is he? Come back, Heiko. Right, let's have a talk. Let's have a talk. How about, what do you want to talk about?
My first thing is just the question.
Yes.
So the question of the video today, the stream today, is called Tommy Robinson, End of the Road, question mark. So what do you think?
You're going to have to define what, for me, you mean by end of the road.
It's an open question.
So I don't think...
Where are we at?
Okay, yes. So I hope and I pray that we're at the end of liberalism and that we're seeing the end of the the classical liberal state and the liberal progressive state, which is what it's turning into, and that actually we've arrived at the birth of a Christian nationalist state.
Movement or state?
Both. I think there is a Christian nationalist movement that is now born in the UK. It's a major part of the patriotic movement. God willing, it will come to sort of define and guide the patriotic movement, and that eventually it will lead to the establishment of a Christian nationalist state.
And do you think that Donald Trump's influence and the influence of Christian nationalism in America is a model for here, or do you think they've gone down the wrong path?
I think that Christian nationalism in America is not fully worked out. It's still too liberal for my liking. There's still too much of classical liberalism within the Christian nationalism of America. So, for example, Trump celebrated handing out a Bible with the American Constitution in it and a couple of other founding father documents, which for me is horrendous. Like, why on earth? Because you shouldn't be putting those documents into the bind of a Bible, because they're not equal to the passages of Scripture. There's too much American nationalism in the Trump project. So
do you
let me.
Sorry,
I'm trying to explain.
Go on.
Right, Christian nationalism sees the church as the foci of the national identity. It doesn't see the institution or the historical history of the institutions of the state as the foci of national identity. So there should be no swearing of oaths to the American flag. You know, there should be no civic kind of religion. But the state should be governed by Christian values and Christian principles, and that the resources of the state should be used for the purposes of God's kingdom and the cause of a wider Christendom.
So that sounds to me, forgive me if I'm wrong, like a sort of a Christian version of what some people might say Sharia law is like. In other words, God's law, the Bible, absolutely primary, everything else secondary.
Yeah, it is. I believe that there should be a state that is governed by Christian law, but you shouldn't assume that the evils and injustices that Marxists and socialists like you overlook inside of Islam are going to be necessarily replicated within a Christian legal system. For instance, central to the Christian legal system is that you have one body of law that is applied to everybody equally. You know, that's essential. So me and you would be governed by the same law. If I blasphemed, I'd be punished by the same laws that would punish you for blasphemy. Okay. You know, not I can blaspheme and you can't blaspheme. You know, not that I can kill you and get punished at a lesser rate than if you killed me, which is what something that in Islam teaches, and that Marxists and communists and socialists like you do very little to challenge or to tackle. You turn a blind eye to it. Yeah.
Tommy Robinson, for your fame, claimed that you converted him to Christianity.
I don't think he did.
He did. He said, I was watching Bob, his muscular Christianity led me to think Christianity is like my path.
So that would be, I'm an
he's one of your disciples.
You're an influencer. You're an influencing factor.
Do you think that, like, for example, you've been at Speaker's Corner for a while, Danny Tomo used to come down here,
yeah.
Do you remember him? And he's also become a Christian, so
yep.
he says. Tommy Robinson says he's a Christian. Lots of people, Russell Brand says he's a Christian. Lots of people who perhaps otherwise would not have been seen as the automatic flock of Christianity suddenly have become Christians.
Yeah.
Do you not think, like, maybe because of their personal behaviour or their backgrounds, not that people can't make amends and change, but do you not think that maybe that might be watering down the purity of your concepts?
Well, I mean, the reality is that when you build alliances, there's always that danger. But the point of a Christian political project is the same point of any aspect of a Christian life, which is that we've got to be faithful to our own religion and faithful to our own teachings, which means that, for instance, you know, we can have no truck with ethno-nationalists who are trying to infiltrate the patriotic movement. But equally, this is one of the reasons why I'm a critic of the MAGA movement. Yeah, exactly. but it's one of the reasons why I'm a critic of the MAGA movement, because there's too much of American liberalism inside of the MAGA movement, you know. And let me finish. Okay. So I celebrate, and I'm happy that Danny Tomo has become a Christian, that Tommy Robinson has become a Christian. God willing, Liam Tufts is going to become a Christian. I hope you listen. Liam Tufts is the best friend of Tommy Robinson, who runs The Dozen, which is a podcast, like the Joe Rogan of the UK. Anyway, but the point is, just as if someone became a communist today because of your work, you wouldn't expect them within a week to be an expert on the intricacies of Marxist theory, right? You would expect them to come to someone like you and to learn Marxism from someone like you. In the same way, I say to Danny Tomo, I say it directly to Danny Tomo, to Tommy Robinson, you need to be putting yourself under good Christian teachers. Ricky Doolan is not one of them, he's not a Christian. You need to be putting yourself under good Christian teachers so that you can learn what it means to be a Christian.
Okay, so you've led me on to the question I was going to ask, or one question I was going to ask supplementary to that, which was, in your opinion, what branch of the Christian church should people follow? So other than your own interpretation, who would you turn to and ask that Tommy Tomo and whoever else, who should they listen to for Christian guidance?
Right. So, firstly, we got to dispel a certain myth that is assumptive to the question, which is there is this idea of a true institutional church. There is not one true institutional church. Right. There is only one body of Christ, one church, one Holy Catholic and Apostolic Church that has given rise to different institutions, which, to confuse everyone else, we've also called churches, right? I am not interested which church all of these people join. So long as let me finish. Let me land. Let me no. Let me land. Let me land. Let me land. Let me land. Let me land.
Sorry.
I am not interested which denominational institution they join, so long as it's a Christian one, and Ricky Doolan's church is not a Christian church.
So any Christian.
It's got to be a Christian church. But, and here's landing on the question, because you know I always answer questions. The one church that has stood shoulder to shoulder with the patriotic movement is the Confessing Anglican Church.
Okay.
And by the mere fact that from the first moment of the birth of the patriotic movement to the present, the Confessing Anglican Church has been there on every march, on every protest, and has suffered the same flack that every other patriot has suffered, then I would encourage all patriots to come under the stewardship of Bishop Kai of the Confessing Anglican Church.
Okay, well, a question I would ask then. Tommy gained a lot of support based on his campaigning against rape gangs in the north of England.
Which, as Marxists and communists, you ignored and you whitewashed.
Let me finish. So he gained a lot of support for his work fighting against what he called Muslim rape gangs or so on. But what's your view then of how you can approach the question of why the focus on that when the Catholic Church, the Anglican Church have all been involved in long-term sex scandals, child abuse scandals over decades?
Well,
not only decades, but
I would just
all come out.
Sure, I would just point out the sheer hypocrisy of the question, because I don't remember you coming here and talking week after week about the genocide of Armenian Christians in Artsakh. I don't remember you. No, hold on. I'm pointing at your hypocrisy first. The hypocrites of the Marxist socialist left. I don't remember you coming down here and talking about the occupation of northern Cyprus or the occupation of Artsakh or the genocide of Nigerian Christians, but you come down here on a regular basis to villainize Israel and talk about the Palestinian occupation, and you would probably defend it, and you would probably defend it by some kind of logic that says, well, if you dilute your causes, you diminish your causes, so you need to focus in on something to advance that cause. By the same logic, yes, Tommy Robinson could have launched a crusade against the paedophile rings within the Roman Catholic Church, but American journalists had already done that successfully and had resulted in massive changes of behavior within the Roman Catholic Church to deal with paedophile priests. But the British establishment, facilitated and supported by the Marxist socialist left, hid the industrial level of rape of white working class children by Muslim rape gangs in this country and didn't want to talk about it. And Tommy Robinson force the British establishment to acknowledge it and to start to deal with it. And rather than thank him like you should have as a man of justice, instead you villainised him for it.
Well, I didn't do that.
Anyway,
Well,
go on, next
what
question.
I asked was slightly different. So just,
I thought maybe
just
I missed
to get
it.
the
Go on.
nuance on it was, if Tommy Robinson is against Muslim rape gangs,
Yep.
then surely him and yourself have to, as vociferously, oppose Christian abuse of inside the church, institutional abuse of children by the Catholic Church, by the Anglican Church,
so-
and all the rest of it, which has been recorded over decades.
Right, so let's answer the question directly, but let's again first point out the hypocrisy. Because if he is...
Well, I'm asking you, so it's not about my
because
hypocrisy.
if he is
I'm asking you.
vociferously against the occupation of Palestine, he should therefore be vociferously against the occupation of Northern Cyprus and of Artsakh. And if he is saying, if the Marxists are saying, because I've never seen the Marxists march against the ethnic cleansing of Christians in northern Nigeria, and I'll take them more seriously when they do. But what we notice is, no, are you triggered? Are you triggered? No, are you triggered? 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 Let me answer. Let me deal with your point, because I'll just keep talking until you do. You know I will. What needs to happen?
Is that a promise?
That is a promise. What needs to happen is for Marxists like you to come to this park and speak upon the genocide of Christians in the Muslim world and the persecution of Christians in the Muslim world and the colonization of Christian lands by Muslims in the Christian world, like Northern Cyprus, like Artsakh, like Northern Nigeria, like the persecution of Christians in Egypt and the persecution of Christians in Pakistan. Now, he says that if we are going to march against Muslim grooming gangs, which we all should, and so we look forward to the day that you join us in doing that.
I was there the last
right?
night.
But
I wasn't marching with
yeah,
you,
you weren't
but I was
marching
there.
exactly.
I was
You
there.
were not
I
marching
was in number
against.
like everybody
You were not
else.
marching against Muslim rape gangs. You were there condemning those that
I was
were.
there to
That's
observe.
what you were doing.
I was there to observe
Now,
Tommy Robinson's protest.
to answer your question even more directly,
But
should Christians
Yeah.
work against paedophile priests in our churches? Absolutely.
Yes.
And we have.
We have.
And we have dealt with them. We have now in our churches some of the tightest safeguarding rails of any institution for the protection of children. And I'll say it right
But
now.
it was concealed.
Hold on,
It
hold
was
on.
concealed for
I'll
many,
say it
many
right now.
decades, wasn't it?
I'll say it. Yes, because they were paedophile
At the very
grooming
top,
gangs
at the top.
working inside
At
the
the very
Catholic
top.
Church.
Yes, and the
But
Anglican-
notice,
and the Anglican Church.
condemn the
And the
Muslim
Anglican
rape gangs.
Church.
Condemn the Muslim rape gangs. No, condemn them. Say the Muslim rape gangs. Say the Muslim rape gangs.
Firstly,
Say the Muslim rape gangs should be condemned. Say it.
The problem with that argument
But he was happy to say Roman Catholic. He was happy to say Roman Catholic. But he was not happy to say Muslim.
Roman Catholic sexual abuse scandals were directly connected with the institution of the church, whereas the alleged Muslim
Alleged
are not
Muslim.
connected
Do
with
you see the
mosque.
hypocrisy?
They're not connected
Do you
with the
see
mosque.
the hypocrisy?
They
Yes, they are.
people who are
Yes, they are.
They
Yes,
are
they are.
Pakistani.
I'll tell you how they are.
Pakistani.
Because many of the imams of the mosques knew what was going on and they kept silent.
It is not the same thing.
Yeah,
to
not
say
the same.
that
So
the-
it's
that
not
the
the same
church-
when Muslims rape white working class girls, but it is the same when
You're not
perverted
letting it- you're
Roman Catholic
bulldozing.
priests
It's not fair,
raped
you're
little
bulldozing.
children.
You're
Everyone
bulldozing.
is
You're
seeing your
bulldozing.
hypocrisy.
It's not hypocrisy at all.
Everyone is seeing your
The
hypocrisy.
Catholic Church and the Anglican Church, it was the vicars and priests and the institutions of the church that were organising and orchestrating. It's not hearsay. There are investigations by the Catholic Church, by the Protestant Church,
all of them,
by the Anglican
every
Church,
bishop, every priest, every bishop, every priest. There you go, every bishop, every priest, every deacon. You're all guilty because Christophobia is alive on the left, ladies and gentlemen. Alive on the left. Stand up to the Christophobes. Don't let them dominate the narrative.
Because as far as I know,
we're still waiting for him to condemn Muslim rape gangs, and he isn't doing it.
I'm not saying that there are no mosques that did that, but I have not seen any such reports about mosques.
Imam Abdul Halim Khan gets a life sentence for monstrous attacks on 7 women and girls, ladies and gentlemen.
That's very recent.
14th of May 2026. Muslim rape gangs are still operating in the UK. And Muslim women and wives are silent about it. Muslim brothers are silent about it. Muslim imams are silent about it. And he won't condemn it, but he feels able to condemn all the Catholic Church. All the Catholic Church. That is exactly what you're saying.
I didn't say all
Why
the
don't you
Catholic
apologise for being a Christophobe?
I didn't say all the Catholic
Why don't you
Church.
apologise for being a Christophobe? For being a Christophobe.
I'm not a Christophobe.
You are a Christophobe.
Am I a Christophobe?
You're a Christophobe. You spread lies about the Roman Catholic Church. You spread lies about the Roman Catholic Church. And you're an apologist for Muslim rape gangs.
I'm sorry, but you've given up arguing with me and you started bulldozing.
Right.
And I came to interview, I didn't came to argue.
Okay,
right?
so we get back to questions.
So that interviewing I've done. I don't mind debating later on. Do
you want to do a time debate
then
right
it would
now?
have to be equality in time.
How about
and
we
so on.
debate whether the left is hypocritical and has double standards?
I don't mind doing all of that.
Let's do it now.
But no, we'll do it in a little bit.
Come on, don't run.
No, I'm going to go and speak. I've done my interview. We've had a little bit of debate on these themes. The theme was here, Tommy Robertson, end of the road, as I said to you, question mark. That we've dealt with reasonably well. I'm happy to debate you a bit later in the day.
All right, always a pleasure to talk to you.
See you later.
Right, let me give you a gift. You know I always
Another
give a
gift.
Always. Always.
A gift from the church.
I
A gift
don't.
from God.
We don't hate anyone. We don't hate anyone. You know?
I don't hate you either.
You only accept money.
No,
There we
I
go.
don't accept money.
So here you go.
Another little leaflet.
Another little leaflet, just to remind
Actually, you gave me
of
that
the.
last time.
Oh, did I really? There you go. It's got to happen at least once, hasn't it?
All right. You got another one?
Yeah, I'll find you something. There you go. Let's have a look. There you go.
That'll
Is
do.
the Bible true?
That'll do. Is it true? The Bible? Can we trust it? Right. Thanks very much.
There you go. You
See
look
later,
after
yeah?
yourself. Take care.
See you later. Yeah?
God bless you.
Well done.
All right.
Any final thoughts on that combo?
Yeah. Everyone who is a Christian needs to start standing up vociferously and opposing the hypocrisy of the left and the communists and the left-wing agitators who live by double standards. They talk about Palestinian genocide, Israeli occupation, but they're silent about Turkey's occupation in northern Cyprus. They're silent about Azerbaijan's genocide of Christian Armenians. They're silent about the butchering of tens of thousands of Christians in Nigeria. They're silent about the industrial rape of white working class girls by Muslim rape gangs in the UK. We need to call out vociferously, forcefully and constantly all the hypocrisies of the left. Do not let them control the narrative. Construct your own narrative that prioritizes the concerns and the justices of the church, brothers and sisters. That's what we need to do. Because that march, the Nakba march that happened yesterday, let me just tell something, a little fact that the alt-left don't know. The Nakba was a disaster that was led by a member, a colonel, a former colonel of the Nazi Wehrmacht. A fact. It was a colonel of the Nazi Wehrmacht that led the Arab armies against Israel when Israel won its independence. Let me say that again to all you lefties and all you socialists. That disaster was led by a Nazi. A Nazi. And you don't know it because you are ignoramuses of history, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, furthermore, the Muslim Turkish society was siding with the Nazis. The Muslim Albanians sided with the Nazis. An entire regiment of the Waffen SS was made up by Albanian Muslims as they slaughtered Serbian Christians and Croatian Christians, ladies and gentlemen, as they butchered Jews. The chief imam of Jerusalem was a personal colleague of Adolf Hitler. Ladies and gentlemen, the left are ignoramuses. The Nakba was brought about by Islamist Nazi sympathizers. And when you side against Israel, you are siding with historical Nazism. Its continuity in the Arab world.
What do you think about the way that Israelis treat Christians, though?
Right, ladies and gentlemen. Israel isn't blameless. Israel discriminates against Messianic Jews and denies them their right to return to Israel. Israel has an extremist problem amongst its settlers who attack Palestinian Muslim and Christian villages. And then the Israeli state protects them. Israel, as we have seen, has a problem with Christophobes in its army who have abused Christian sites and symbols in southern Lebanon. I am not giving a blank check to Israel by calling out the historical connections between the Palestinian cause and its historical connections to Nazism or of the Islamists, ladies and gentlemen. These two threats, though, are not the same. Israel is problematic for Christians in the region around Israel. But because Israel is entirely dependent upon the West, Christian nationalist governments can and should reign in Israel and force Israel to deal with its Zionist extremists. The Islamists in the surrounds of Israel, though, are threats to the church entire. Because when they are finished with Israel and when they are finished with the Christians of the region, those Islamists intend to prosecute their jihad against all Christians everywhere. And so, in terms of triaging your threats, we must first crush the Islamist dogs that surround Israel, and then when we have crushed the Islamist dogs that surround Israel, then, and along with doing that, we also hold Israel to account for its own abuses.
Make Jerusalem Christian.
Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen?
Do you still say that there isn't a link between Dionysus and Jesus?
It's not even on. Well, to be fair, there wasn't a topic. God bless. Peace with you. Here, brother. Keep in touch. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, there are a number of people in this society, and I suspect that this brother's one of them, who read a little and think that they know a lot. Dionysus was the Greek god, the Roman god of pleasure and chaos. He's celebrated by Nietzsche. There is no connection between Dionysus and Christian belief in Dionysus. Sorry, my apologies. Christian belief in Jesus Christ and Dionysus. They are completely different visions of deity in completely different frameworks of deity. And anyone who says that Dionysus is connected to Jesus doesn't know what they are talking about. Any other questions? Do you want to debate? On camera. Come in then. Come in. Come in. He's taking his coat off. It's getting serious. I think it's time to roll up, pull up the sleeves. Doing some work today.
So okay, we'll time it then, yes?
Shall we do 2 minutes, 3 minutes? Can we have a clock?
Yeah, I think 2 minutes.
2 minutes, yeah.
2 minutes, 2 minutes. Could we get a clock?
So
We ain't got a clock yet.
I don't have a phone. I don't have a phone, guys.
Someone willing to time, please.
The auntie, I think.
No.
Hello, Bob.
Auntie. Nothing? No time? Anybody can time it, no?
Right, we'll just have to work it out as best as we can. 2 minutes, 2 minutes.
okay, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Let's do this. Let's make it 2 points, 2 points. So you make 2 points, make
I
2
think
points.
it's better to time it because
All right.
it's easy.
Okay, anyway, go on.
Roughly. Okay.
Go on.
So the question is there a link between Dionysus and Jesus? It's not just Jesus, by the way. There is an early Dionysus who is linked to Moses, and there is a later Dionysus who is linked to Jesus. So we're not just talking about Jesus, we're talking about both Moses and Jesus. So the question is there a link between Jesus and Dionysus? You're correct that in ancient Rome, the most popular statue is not any emperor. That's a myth. The most popular statue in any museum on covering ancient Rome is actually Dionysus. Dionysus was the most popular religion in the ancient world. And that reflects both Hellenic culture, Athenian culture, and Greek culture generally, and that is also true of Roman culture, who inherited this from the Greeks. So the question is there a link between the two? Now, there is this thing, I'm sure many learned Christians here, I've been even for coffees with them afterwards, and I'm surprised how many of them knew this, and they were even greater experts than me on this. In fact, agreed, a lot of your colleagues here
You're coming up to 2 minutes, bro.
Yes, agreed that
Thank you.
there are similarities between the passion of Christ, that is Jesus Christ, and the passion of Dionysus, where we know the passion of Dionysus precedes that of Jesus by up to 1,000 years. So that's the point. That's the question.
Okay, ready for my 2 minutes? Can you come in a bit, sister, and just let us see the clock?
Oh,
Yeah?
I'll reset it now.
Right. Go. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you heard the question being restated. You heard some statements about what he believes, but did you hear any evidence? No, neither did I. So what you need to listen to very carefully is evidence. Here's what needs to be shown. You need to show clearly that Christians built their story of Jesus upon Dionysus' story. That's what you've got to show, which means that you've got to understand the story of Jesus, show that it is the same story of Dionysus, and then show that the stories of Dionysus were accessible, and listen to the next bit because this is crucial, and were indeed accessed by the apostles that wrote the New Testament. So I'm going to lay out for you the story of Jesus. Jesus is the incarnate Logos of God, born into the world to herald and to bring in the kingdom of God in fulfillment of the prophecies of the Old Testament that speak about a coming Messiah that will establish the kingdom of God on earth. And that kingdom of God will go out throughout all the world, and that all the nations will be drawn into that kingdom. And that he does this by conquering the principalities and powers of this world, the God of this world, the prince of this world, Satan, by his death and his resurrection, that conquers death and sets us free from sin to work for the kingdom of God. Show me that Dionysus has that story. 2 minutes.
Okay, Bob, yeah, okay. By the way, we forgot to shake hands at the beginning. Yeah, yes, I agree it's very important that we have evidence. But if you listen carefully, you'll forget that there is this thing called empirical evidence, and the frequency of statues dug up from the ground and then exhibited in museums is called empirical evidence, and statisticians use this in order to draw conclusions. In fact, the whole of AI is built on this, Bayesian statistics. So that was evidence, and I hope you do acknowledge that there is evidence that says that Dionysus was the most popular religion in ancient Rome, preceding the popularity of Christianity. So another piece of evidence, I agree that we do need evidence, and that's why, as a very learned Christian, and I know from your colleagues, that these guys have the Bible memorized, they have the gospel memorized, they have the church fathers memorized. They're very, very highly educated in this area. And so one of the people that they've all read is Justin Martyr, who lived from about 100 AD to about 165 AD. And Justin Martyr happens to mention, so he's one of the earliest church fathers, by the way. He precedes Clement of Alexandria by over 100 years. He happens to say that there is this problem. There is a very significant parallel between the life of Jesus and the life of Dionysus. In fact, he draws a comparison between the Passion of Christ and the Passion of Dionysus, a one-week period, which is the sort of mission, the messiahship, if you like to put it that way, of these individuals. And he is a devout Christian. So Justin Martyr is a church father, one of the earliest ones. He's a devout Christian. He goes from the Palestine region to the Rome, and he sets up the church in Rome, one of the earliest churches there. And he's actually allowed to do that.
Time.
And he sacrifices.
Time.
And he sacrifices his life for Christianity.
Time.
Over
right.
to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, oh, you haven't started. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hand up if you heard a shred of evidence. I heard references to statues. Gee whiz, there are statues of Dionysus. What does that prove? Nothing. And I heard, ladies and gentlemen, a vague reference to Justin Martyr, saying that Justin Martyr said that there's some parallel to Dionysus and Jesus, but I didn't hear a quote, I didn't hear a reference. So we are still at zero evidence, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to hear what the evidence is. But also, let's be clear, we're not looking for the evidence of Justin Martyr's opinions. We're looking for evidence that the writers of the New Testament based their story on Dionysus, and that they could access the stories of Dionysus, and that the story of Dionysus mirrors that of Jesus and was a precursor to it. I have heard no evidence of any of those points whatsoever. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to point out something to you. Speaker's Corner attracts people that have large egos and large amounts of pride in their own intellect. Quasi-intellectuals, most of them are Gnostics, ladies and gentlemen. And I fear that this is just another one of those debates of somebody who's read a little and then thinks he knows a lot. Do you think, ladies and gentlemen, that this theory, if it was true, would not be something being discussed by every scholar in every generation all the time? But I've never heard this before in my life until today. I have to go at 5, and that is a hard stop.
Okay, so that's in 4 minutes.
Yeah, so 2 more rounds.
Yeah,
So your final statement.
Okay, so I'm going to come to some quotes. So basically, Justin Martyr, 100 to 165 AD, similarities between Jesus and Dionysus. Clement of Alexandria, the most famous of all the church fathers, 150 to 215 AD, similarities between Jesus and Dionysus. Origen, highly respected church father, 184 AD to 253 AD, similarities between Jesus and Dionysus. Eusebius, commissioned by the Emperor Constantine as the ultimate church father, institutionalizes Christianity for the Roman Empire as the official religion of the Roman Empire. The first pope is commissioned. Eusebius, there are similarities between Jesus and Dionysus. So great is the problem that there's a famous quote. It's called diabolical mimicry. So what has actually happened is the people who follow Dionysus have somehow anticipated Jesus. They follow almost exactly the same story. They even worship the cross, and they have Dionysus on the cross. In fact, it was as popular as Jesus. There was a period where they were both equally popular. Dionysus on the cross and Jesus on the cross. So they invented this term called diabolical mimicry. All 4 of these authors mention it. And this is how they explain how it is possible that Dionysus predates Jesus and is almost identical to Jesus.
Still got time?
Yeah, you can respond.
Right, hold on 1 second. Just pause if you bear with us 1 minute. Right, are you ready? Right, guys, let me just show you how ignorant this man is. Firstly, he's not talking about Dionysus. Let me help him. He's talking about Apollonius of Tyranna, ladies and gentlemen. And the document that talks about Apollonius of Tyranna comes after the Gospels, not before the Gospels. It is a direct imitation of the Christ story written by later Roman authors as a way of trying to combat the success of the Christian story. It is not connected to Dionysus. Secondly, did you hear any evidence? Yes. Neither did I. All I heard, don't interrupt, pause my time. Pause my time. Can you rewind it back 10 seconds? Right. Count to 10 and then press play. Count to 10 and then press play. Listen, don't interrupt. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm glad this is a shorter debate because I do get annoyed by people who think that they know a lot when they know very little. Dionysus is not who we're talking about. We're talking about Apollonius of Tyranna, and he didn't give any evidence, ladies and gentlemen. Zero. He just gave another list of claims, and he gave no evidence for those claims. All you have heard in the last 15 minutes is claim, backed up by claim, backed up by claim, and you have heard zero evidence, ladies and gentlemen. But do we Christians have evidence? Yes, we do. The story of Jesus Christ predates that of Apollonius Tyrannus. The Gospels are written by 90 AD, and they talk about Christ's crucifixion. I am yet to hear any document by anyone, especially this guy, who predates the Gospel, showing a crucified Messiah called Dionysus of the Jews, who rises again. Thank you very much. Right, I gotta go.
Okay.
Look, it was lovely talking to you.
Good to meet you.
Good to meet you as well.
You're very good at what you do. Very good.
Brother, I want to encourage you, and I don't know if you'll take my advice, but you really need to have some humility, because you don't know as much as you think you do.
Oh, that's true. We all don't.
You
know
really don't know,
as
right?
we think we do. Yes.
So I want to give you a gift to try and help you to know something. okay? And it's an introduction to Christian theology.
Okay.
So
I have a lot of books
get
on Christianity.
to know. Well, there's another
I
one.
have five
Yeah.
Bibles.
Get to know the Christian story, right? And please, for your own sake, before you come to try to debate stuff,
Right.
learn to argue. Here's
Okay.
how you argue.
Right.
You make a claim, you present your evidence for your claim.
Right.
What you don't do is make a claim and then try to back it up with another claim and then try to back that up with another claim to which you don't use any evidence. It also helps.
I've worked in law, my friend. and I
Well,
know
it's
I have a
failing
very,
you.
Very, look, a very
Probably
good,
explains
a
why our
very good
court
idea of
system's
what
so
evidence
rubbish.
is. Very good idea
Yeah.
of what evidence.
Well, I'm afraid you didn't use any today. You look after yourselves. I've got to go.
All right, anyway, very well done.
God bless you
well
all.
Done. It was a good debate.
Hey, hit the like, share the link. We might stay here, so up to you guys.
Okay, I'll bring it back as well.
Got to walk. God bless.
All good?
Yeah, good. How are you? Yes. Yeah, I was that. Oh, I remember. I get clips of it. I see what segments. I was watching. Okay, yeah. See the segments. Yeah, well, you know, Tommy makes his own decisions for his own reasons. It's not for me to try and hustle onto a stage. Anyway, God bless you all.
Okay, family. Should we carry on?
He's still a nice guy.
No, I release off. We've got the Iceman here. Let's see what's going on. Let us know. Team. Yeah, it's gone now. Share the linko. Hit the like-o.
He's referring to Trinitarian Nicene Creed believing in a Miaphysite sort of story as most likely. So, in that point, I think the Quran is clearly aware of these groups and it clearly addresses them and it clearly says about their scripture, you have the Injil. It uses the word Injil. Didn't have to use that word, but the word Injil, it gets its etymology from the Greek euangelion, and it potentially goes to the Ethiopic before then, which is interesting because if it does, that's the Ethiopic church. The Ethiopic church has the Grima Gospels, we know what they believed and taught. So everything tells us it's addressing mainstream Christianity. Well, I say mainstream in the sense of it's Nicene and Trinitarian. Miaphysite and Nestorian, we would say that's a sect, but ultimately they're still going to agree with us on Trinitarian points.
And
So
if
it's-
you have a
yeah.
group that is Trinitarian and a group that is not Trinitarian, so Unitarian, it's quite possible that the Quranic verse is talking to the Unitarians.
To be honest with you, I don't even think the context is that there wouldn't have been many. The evidence tells us, you go south of where Muhammad was, you have the Himyarite kingdom, which was run by who? It was run by Christians at the time. And before that, it was Jews. If you go to the north, you have the Ghassanids. The Ghassanids, who were they? Well, they were actually a group that had aligned with who? The Byzantines. Who were the Byzantines? Trinitarian, Chalcedon, believing Christians. You look at Egypt. Egypt, again, was the Eastern Oriental Church at the time. What did they believe? Same thing the Ethiopians did. So all of the regional evidence tells us that the most likely candidates are this. And so the evidence affirms what I'm saying. There is no evidence for an alternative. Literally, there's none. I don't know of any Unitarian groups there at the time. But there is none. And the scholarship that's being done isn't pointing to that. It's just saying there's a big Christian community there. They seem to be in line with what's in the south and what's in the north. There's no reason I think the Hijaz is some kind of isolated region where they have this totally different perspective than the north and the south. No, they probably have the same. I mean, just to add one more thing. The Sunni traditions say that from Najran, there is a community of Christians that went to Muhammad. So Muhammad even has influence from these Miaphysite Christians. So I mean, everything points to this.
You know, in the Quran, it says that it's here to confirm what was said before,
And also what was with them. There are 6 of the Mosadic verses that talk in the present tense about what a group holds. So the Gospel and Torah are being confirmed in a present sense.
if there was 0 Unitarians, that's the
But wait,
assumption you're
even
making.
Unitarians are still going to have the same scripture.
So Unitarians are more aligned with the Quran.
But they're not, though. No, okay, there are Unitarians here at this park. Go up to them and say, what is your understanding of John 1:1? And they'll say Jesus is the Word, but he is a God. They'll literally tell you that, because that's what they tell us. And they argue with the Greek, and they say the definitive, not the definitive, the indefinitive article is not there, which is the letter for A, therefore it's reasonable to think there's an A there. So they're literally saying that what we use as a verse to say that Jesus is God, they translate it differently to say Jesus is a God. Again, you can't go up to a Muslim and be like, so yeah, is Jesus a God? Oh yeah, Muslims will be like, yeah, that's totally, no, of course not.
Actually, you can to an educated one. So in Psalms 82, we're all God, they were all like gods.
Well, they're the sons of God, yeah.
Sons of God.
But my point is that that's a long difference between what he said there, and we can talk about that, and in what's in John 1, where they translate it as a God.
A God. But you'd call them a God if they were...
All right, yeah, but okay, well, I don't think that you can look at the Quran and
Son
say...
of God, and they say a God. That was interchangeable.
I would argue the Quran explicitly denies this in many ways. One way is the fact the Quran never acknowledges the title that Christians give for Jesus. It never says Isa ibn Allah anywhere in the Quran.
Isa ibn Allah.
Yeah, or we would say Jesus is the Son of God.
And when it's talking about Psalms, would you say like it's accurate to say Adam ibn Allah? Would that be consistent in Christianity? Adam
You would have to
ibn
be very
God.
careful with how you're defining it and what you mean by that. Because again, there's a scriptural way you can do that, but you have to make it very clear in how you're using it, because it can be misunderstood by people. And also, Psalm 82 is, there's going to be a lot of interesting takes on that. You read Michael Heiser, for example, on the Divine Council, and you'll have a totally different view of things. But when you look at the Quran, if the Quran wanted to affirm there is one sense in which you can call Isa the son of God, Isa ibn Allah,
Yeah,
it would have used the title, and it would have just redefined it to explain what it means. But it never uses the title, even though it's in a Christian milieu. There are Christians around, probably Miaphysite historians, and it's saying we don't use that title. We actually changed the title to Isa ibn Maryam. Now, why use that title when there's a much more common title that the Christians are already using? The
Maybe
reason
there's
why
two
is because the Quran author just disagrees with it. The Quran author in Surah At-Tawbah, Surah 9, Ayah 30, says the Christians say that the Messiah is the son of Allah. It even tells you what the Christians are saying, and it says that's wrong.
That's wrong.
And then the very next verse says they take their rabbis and their priests as gods.
Do you understand? Like the Psalms are saying son means a follower, and someone who's sincere, and you're saying literal son, and that's where the Quran had to step in 600 years later.
But
and say
no, because you're saying you're trying to deny that there's you're saying that there's a way that you can validly say Son of God.
There is a valid
If there is a valid way, the Quran would have said so. But the Quran says no, they say this with their own mouths, and it's in error. And the Quran says in 5:18, the Jews and the Christians say they are children of God. No, they're not. If you were children of God, why are you punished for your sins? That's what 5:18 says.
But children of God, children of God is when you're sincerely following God. So you can't be children
But there
of
are
God.
people who sincerely follow God. What are they called in the Quran? Slaves of Allah.
Exactly.
They're not called children of God, though.
So if you're Bani Israel but you're doing wrong, you're no longer got the title of being a children of God. But if you're
But
Bani
the Quran denies the title. Again, why does it never say Jesus the Son of God? There is an Arabic way of expressing that. The only time you see that closely, when you see Ibn Allah mentioned, is in 930, where it's denying it and it acknowledges that that's what Christians say. Christians say that Messiah is the Son of Allah, like the Jews say that Ezra is the Son of Allah, and it denies them both.
And it's just to save confusion. Because that is causing confusion, while it didn't cause confusion, you can use that term.
Where is that in the Quran? I see no evidence in the Quran.
Yeah, it's coming from myself.
I know.
And I'm deducing it, obviously.
Fair enough.
I need it to make sense.
I will be fair to you. There are scholars that try and argue this point, because in my book I address this, because people like Dr. Abdullah Galadari in his work Quranic Hermeneutics, he tries to make this point. Because he tries to reconcile the Quran's teachings with the biblical teachings. And one of the way he does it is he basically says you can he makes a distinction between Ibn and I think Walad, I think. And he basically says, well, Walad is like a biological offspring, whereas Ibn, you can interpret that to be different. And he gives examples of just Arabic phrases where you can do that. And there's even phrases in the Quran that do that. But ultimately, I think the argument fails because the Quran could have said Isa ibn Allah. but it never does, and I think there's a reason for that. It reuses a different term, a less popular term, Isa the son of Mary. Now, Christians would agree with Jesus, son of Mary, but the more common term used across all of Christendom and in Arabia would have been Jesus, the Son of God.
Yeah, and that's what the Quran was trying to get rid of.
I think so.
That
And what, it's not the confusion, it's because it just denies that there is any way you can say that, including a literal way. It denies that. And it basically says you cannot associate partners with Allah, and I think it's because it views that you're making Jesus into a partner with Allah.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. But I think it's backed on the Quran, and I think there's too many verses in the Quran, and the thing that sells it for me is the fact that the Quran uses Isa ibn Maryam all over the place. It talks about Isa ibn Maryam, but it never says Isa the son of Allah.
No, it wouldn't, just to save that confusion.
But it knows the Christians say son of Allah, and it rejects it. But anyway, that's really cool. Is there any other questions you have about anything to do with the Islamic dilemma in particular?
Yeah, no, I'm still studying it, so
That's
thanks
cool.
for clarifying
No worries.
all of the
Do you have my
points.
book? You should totally get my book.
No, my friend does, so I'll get the reference.
Of course, he's got the book. It's worth like I say, I don't write it. I write it very neutrally and respectfully. I'm not insulting anything.
No, you're a nice way of arguing. So
thank you. I appreciate that. And I back it with references. I quote Abdullah Galadari, for example, try to represent his position fairly.
And one last thing I would say is, the Quran says that it's here to confirm and to correct.
It doesn't say correct.
Oh.
No.
What does it say?
So Muslims will often say, based on a single verse, and that's Surah Al-Ma'idah, ayah 48, they will say that the word muhaymin means corrector. Now, this is not... So, for example, if you look at Nikolai Sinai's Critical Dictionary of Arabic, which is a great book, it came out a few years ago, he knows Arabic, and he literally went through all the Arabic words, and he gives the definition. He would say, at best, you can say it means an authority. And I would say that if something's an authority, that still doesn't get you to corrector. So in the same way that I have a boss, right, at work, he's an authority over me. But that doesn't necessarily mean he corrects me. He may actually think I'm doing a good job, right?
Maybe it's the translations that I've read. I'll try and find a verse that says...
The clear Quran is probably the most wrongly translated one, I would say.
Yeah.
But most of them would just say it's a guardian, it's a protector. Like those words are, if you go for the traditional Arabic, I'm talking about scholars, early scholars, and medieval scholars. They look at it that way.
Yeah.
But in the medieval period, you start to see an introduction of, no, it's a criteria, it's a corrector, and then they introduce this. Oh well, the Quran is actually changing and correcting the previous scriptures because they are aware of this problem. And they want to start addressing the problem.
And I think that's the opinion I hold. If the Quran does say it's here to confirm and correct, it has the freedom. It has the freedom to say yes, that is right, and it has the freedom to say no, that wasn't right.
Hang on, brother. We'll have a chat afterwards. But
and
think about
about like God.
Right.
If there's certain things that mankind has kept and certain things that they've corrupted. What would God do if he needs to be merciful and to communicate that?
Right.
He'd say exactly that.
Why is correcting
here's another book, the
which
Quran.
is correcting.
I'm going to correct you, and also I'm going to confirm where you say yes.
So here's the problem. I understand why you might think that, but here's the problem. If the Quran's main function, or just one of its thematic functions, right, is to correct prior scriptures, it would have to be huge. Because the Quran fundamentally, okay, so put it this way. No story of the prior prophets in the Quran lines up exactly with the biblical text. So that would mean that the Quran would have to literally explain, right, you guys say this, actually, no, this is the correct one. And if you're a Sunni or Shia Muslim, it actually gets even worse because you hold to like, I don't know about you personally, but a Sunni or Shia Muslim would say the doctrine of Isma, the doctrine of the infallibility of the prophets from sin. They can't intentionally sin. But the Bible, if you look at like Noah, for example, he gets drunk and he's seen naked by his son. Judah has sex with his daughter-in-law, right? So they deny these things, but does the Quran deny them? The Quran never denies them. But if the Quran's main function is to act as a corrector, surely it would correct these obvious, like wrong things from the Quranic paradigm.
But it does correct it because when it says Noah is a righteous prophet,
right?
From that word righteous, we can derive that all of that stuff.
Where does it say Judah is a righteous prophet?
Who sorry?
Judah. Okay, my point is you can keep doing this. Where does it say Lot is? Where does it? You could go through. My point is that if the Quran is meant to be correcting, then you would expect it to correct. But there are large things that are not corrected by the Quran. The Quran author assumes that whoever's hearing it is already familiar with these stories. He's not trying to tell you. Like, for example, very little is said about Isa in the Quran. Very little. It doesn't tell you his ministry, where he's born. Like, a large part's left out. It mentions the Hawariyun, the disciples. Does it tell you the names? Does it tell you what they did? Does it tell you the miracle? I mean, it mentions some miracles, but only in passing. So the author expects the hearers to fill in the gaps, because they know who Isa is, they know who Jesus is, they know what he did.
Correct.
So the Quran is assuming the authority of the prior scriptures, because the Christians and Jews know them, so it doesn't need to repeat itself. So the Quran can't be a corrector based on that alone. If the Quran was a corrector, it would actually correct, but there are large gaps where it doesn't.
And I totally agree with you, it'd be a waste of time to go through 1,000 things. And, to correct.
And also there are more...
Isn't it easier to say, Prophet Noah, salam be unto him, he's a righteous prophet, and just go on with the story?
But why would it not say that this story, for example, it does with Solomon. So for Solomon, for example, it says he was not a pagan, whereas in the biblical text it does say he's a pagan. So why does it correct there but not other places?
Again, we don't have authority over God. God has authority over us.
The more reasonable explanation, this is just one point out of many, is that the Quran is not trying to be a corrector. Again, and the whole word Muhammad, this comes from one verse in the Quran. Trying to derive a whole doctrine from one verse, especially when you talk about literally changing the words of Allah, like at least in the sense of, Allah originally did send the Torah, right? And
but wouldn't it make logical sense? Say you had a book,
right?
And your book. This is perfect. You had your book. You come back like 20 years later into the future,
right?
And it's got some weirdness in there.
Right.
When you just say, I'm the author, this is right, this is wrong.
I agree with you completely. I think the Quran author, if he really did want to teach that the prior books have been tampered with and corrupted in some way, he would explicitly have said, with no equivocation, no ambiguity, he would have said, the Torah and the Gospel have been corrupted, and only the original is true, or only the original is actually from God. He would have said that anywhere.
What if it's only little bits?
How many verses are there in the Quran?
So
like 6,000...
6,066.
Yeah, about that, right? So why didn't he use a single verse to say that one statement? And that one statement would have corrected me, and it would have saved us all a lot of hassle. But instead, we get 18 verses where the Quran author says, Musaddiq, he says, this is a Quran confirming that which is with them, or with you. This is a Quran, Mabayna Yadehi. It talks about what is between their hands.
Because you don't want to go to the risk of rejecting the whole scripture that came before you.
But why didn't he just elaborate? Think of it this way, right? So 18 verses where he says, Musaddiq, confirming what is with you, right? Why didn't he say, confirming what is with you, except the falsehood?
The falsehood is too long, because there's so many.
But why didn't he just summarize it? Why didn't he just say, confirming what is with you, except this bit, or except the errors, except the man-made stuff, except the insertions, except the deletions. He could have said anything, and this whole argument would go away. The Islamic dilemma would have been very easy to refute if only Allah had just spent a fraction of a second saying that. And the reason he does not do this is because he does not believe that to be true. He actually means what he says. He means that he confirms what is with us.
But wouldn't you say that when you come 20 years into the future and you say, I confirm this book, I'm the author, but this is the original book. So you're saying...
Well, he never gives the original book.
The Quran is the original
book. Wait. Okay, so where does it say that? Where does it say the Quran is here to correct or to alter anything of what you have?
It says, here's the story of the prophets in truth.
Yeah, right.
In truth.
But then in Surah 1211, it says there is a wisdom and lessons for the prophets. This is a book confirming that which is with you. That's very confusing. And the whole point of Surah 12 is that's the Surah of Joseph.
But it confirms your book.
But wait. So we have the story of Joseph in Genesis 37, right? The very last verse in Surah 12, the book of Joseph in the Quran, says it's confirming what is with us. But the Surah of Joseph differs with what we find in Genesis. So how is it confirming?
Because the story exists. The Jews know the story. God is confirming the story and perfecting it because through Chinese whispers, it's got the details.
The problem I have with this is it would be a bit like, what's your name, my friend?
Farouk.
If I said my mate Farouk here, I confirm what he says, and I never elaborate. I just say, I confirm what he says. The whole point of me coming is to affirm what this guy says. I completely, all this stuff. And then eventually you start hearing me saying things totally opposite to what Farouk is saying here. Now that we have a problem. Either I'm basically very confused, or to be honest, I'm lying, right? Because I can't say on the one hand I confirm what you say, I confirm you, and on the other hand directly oppose what you say. It's not possible. The only way you reconcile this is I've changed my mind, or I don't know what I'm saying, basically.
Yeah, I mean, the way I interpret it is God's confirming that the story exists and the story is true, and then saying what actually happened. So if Allah just put the story out there and it was different, the Jews had the excuse to say, different story, reject.
But this way, can I ask you?
Yeah, forcing them to say it is the same story, don't reject it.
Okay, so for example, if something's mentioned in the Quran but it's not mentioned in the Torah or the Gospel, does that mean that what is... Actually, let's do it the way around, sorry. If something's in the Torah and Gospel but not in the Quran, is it true or not? So, for example, in the story of Joseph, it says that Jacob gave Joseph a robe, but that's not in the Quran. So, did he actually give him a robe?
It's neither true or false then.
But wait, you would have to say it's false.
We can't say it's false.
But remember what you said before. You said the Quran is giving the true account.
True account.
So if it's giving the true account and it missed something, now obviously Allah wouldn't make a mistake.
But the rest,
so He must be saying that's false then.
Anything that isn't mentioned, we can't confirm it, unfortunately.
Oh, you see, that's the problem. You've given two standards. Okay. On the one hand, you're agreeing with me that when the Quran doesn't talk about things, it's because it assumes the audience already knows about it, so it doesn't need to go into detail about Jesus' ministry because they already know. But on the other hand, you say, well, if the Quran leaves things out, you don't. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
I think that's problematic.
Yeah, and I think when it leaves details out, it's talking about principles. So if it's left something out, we're supposed to derive the principal truth out of it. The robe isn't important. It's more about the lesson.
But it's not about whether it's important. If the author is supposedly the same, because remember, the Gospel is sent to the Injil, and the Torah and the Quran. It's all the same author. It's Allah. So why would Allah basically give true accounts in the prior scriptures and then just miss details out of them that were true in the Quran?
Because the details that are missed are inconsequential.
But why would he not, if it's true and it's his own words, why would he not say it? That to me is, I don't know, I find that really worrying and concerning.
He doesn't need to say it because all of the lesson that you need to derive can be derived from the Quranic version. So to mankind, Allah is saying, I've already given you the old scripture, good for you, here's the new scripture, go on it. And anything that is old and useful, keep it. And anything I haven't confirmed and is inconsistent,
but again, think of it this way. If the Quran is a corrector, and it doesn't include the detail about Joseph getting the robe from Jacob, it seems to me you would have to conclude that that must be an error then.
It's inconsequential.
Oh, but you see, you can't give a definitive.
Think of an example that is consequential?
It doesn't matter. Oh no, I would say this is consequential because these are the stories of the prophets. If the author is the same, his own story of prophets, I find that bizarre.
It's not contradiction. In terms of
okay, but my point is that it should be the same story. So what's going on here? Has it been corrupted and Allah is telling you it's corrupted, or he's not and he doesn't care? What's he doing?
With that, because it's not mentioned, it could have been a robe, yes. Or it couldn't have been a robe.
Then he's chosen not to tell you, which is just weird.
But it's inconsequential.
Why would you as a divine, all-knowing author tell the story, presumably correct, right? Because you're God, and then be like, okay, so I'm going to tell the same story again, but now I'm just going to leave out parts to be really confusing to people.
Focus on certain things.
No, but again, remember that you think the Quran is a corrector. How do you reconcile that then? Under your own theology, you've got to figure out how to say, well, what's a correction and what isn't.
Because it's so inconsequential, there's no need to correct it.
It doesn't matter if it's inconsequential. I don't think it is.
Did you have a coffee or a tea? It's inconsequential.
But I wouldn't expect the same God to give me conflicting answers. Why would he say Jacob was given a robe? Joseph was given a robe by Jacob. I'm not going to say that now.
It's inconsequential.
I don't think God would do that. I don't think God would tell you a truth and then just randomly be like, let me tell you the same story. I'm not going to tell you that bit though.
It is possible because you know the Torah is so large. In the final revelation, it's been condensed for the end revelation for mankind.
Right.
So if you are condensing it into 6,660 verses, there is a chance you're not going to mention the robe.
Right. So now you've demonstrated a point though, because if you go that to its extreme, that would mean if the Quran author doesn't mention something, that's not necessarily a correction. So
Not
when
necessarily.
Noah sinned, when Lot sinned, when Judah sinned, guess what? Doesn't look like the Quran's correcting it.
You're right, but it's very
So the Quran is not a
unlikely-
corrector.
But it's very unlikely because the Quran says salam unto Noah, our prophet, a righteous man. We can derive he's sinless.
But why, if the Quran's, one of the Quran's purposes is that it corrects the previous scriptures, I would expect it to do exactly that, especially on important doctrine.
But the word righteous is corrected it.
I don't think, because you're going to find these prophets described as righteous in certain aspects in the biblical text as well. So it just depends on what you mean by righteous. So I don't think that solves it.
You're
And I-
not righteous if you're naked and you're walking around, and your son's just viewing you. And you're not righteous if you're getting drunk and your daughter's sitting on you, for example. Sorry to be so crude. But you're righteous if you don't drink and you're in your senses and you're a prophet of God. So that word righteous is a really heavy meaning in the Quranic text.
I don't think so. To be honest with you, the doctrine of Isma seems like it was just a later politically motivated doctrine. If you read the Quran, just read it, it seems quite clear that a lot of prophets actually sinned. Abraham sinned, for example, when he sinned in lots of places, but he lied to the pagans about the idol. Intentionally. Intentional lying. Huh?
I'm not familiar with that.
Oh, sure. Well, go look it up. You'll find Muslims that would actually agree. Most of them won't, though, because of this doctrine. So they'll have to explain away what's going on here, and they'll be like, well, it's not really a lie, he's being sarcastic. And you get very weird
in terms of
explanations.
Abraham lying,
Yeah.
there is a story where they're passing through a land, and there's a king that takes anyone prisoner.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Abraham had to say that his wife was his sister.
Right, there is that bit.
Yeah.
And that's also in the biblical text.
But we don't say that's a lie.
Sure, no, I'm not referring to this. So in particular, I think it's in Surah 21, if you want to look it up. It might be elsewhere as well. But basically, the whole idea is that it's called Abraham smashing the idols.
Oh, yeah.
So Abraham is basically, he goes to some idols and he smashes them up, except for the largest one.
Correct.
And basically, he actually, if I remember correctly,
He did it.
yeah. So the pagans go up to him and they say, who are you? Who destroyed these idols? And he says, you should ask that statue, that idol.
Correct.
And then they actually take him seriously, and they go and they argue about it, and they go, hang on a second, and they go back to Abraham and they're like, obviously it was you.
So you're saying when he said Abraham, peace be upon him, said that idol did it, he was lying.
So what he says is, you should ask him. Huh?
That's not lie.
Oh, I think it's clearly deception, right? Oh, isn't it?
Not necessarily.
Really?
If I sit and try to told me
If you had just done something and some people come up to you and they go, who did that thing that you just did? And I go ask that thing.
Yeah,
I'm obviously basically trying to cover the fact that it was me.
No, I think it's just trying to say it's like unintelligible.
I personally don't think this is satisfying, right?
In your opinion, is that a lie?
Yeah, it's deception. It clearly is, right? Like, if he should have just been like, yeah, it was me. He could have said something that isn't deception, but also isn't telling them the truth. I think that's a separate category. But the fact that he pointed at the large idol, and the thing is they understood it to mean he's saying it's the idol.
How about a
so how they
husband,
understood it?
husband saying to a wife, do I look fat in this? Is that a lie? When he
Oh,
says, no, you don't.
Yeah, if he actually believes that, and this is interesting because there's hadith that say you can do
We're
this,
allowed-
right?
yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
permissible, like in this context, right? You can lie in war, you can lie in your wife to your wife to keep the peace and things like that. So I would say, yeah, it is a lie.
Okay, we have different interpretations.
Well, ultimately, you have to believe in acceptable lies, whereas a Christian, I wouldn't believe in that. I would say that all lie is bad. I would just vary the badness of the lie. But I would still say lying is bad, right?
So we're talking about minor lies, but when you're talking about big things like getting drunk, we don't believe the prophets did that.
Did Moses kill someone?
Yeah, he did.
Is that bad? Is that bad?
That's very bad, yeah.
Is it a
It wasn't
sin?
intentional. But
No,
yeah.
well, Moses says that
It
it's
is
an
a
action
sin,
from
yes.
Satan.
It
So,
is.
Yes, but mistakes are seen as actions from
well,
Satan.
yeah, again, but so Moses has a very negative opinion about what he just did.
Are you from a Christian perspective?
Yes, I'm from a
I
Christian
see.
perspective, yeah.
And so what you're trying to say is that the Quran is perfect and a corrector, and you're saying, but it misses out correcting a lot of maybe questionable stuff
Yeah, so
in the
I'm-
Bible and the Gospel.
Yeah, so I'm talking about a particular doctrine in Orthodox Islam called the doctrine of Isma, which is the idea that all the prophets are, they can't intentionally sin. Usually it translates to infallible.
I see.
So
But that is quite a very strong position. I mean,
yeah. Yeah, so I'm saying, well, I don't think the
Because-
Quran supports this, but
Because in the Old Testament they are doing a lot of fairly dodgy stuff.
yeah.
But this is because they're not perfect.
Yeah.
But then if you say they're perfect, then that is kind of like saying we should all go out and do all this dodgy stuff, which we should definitely not be doing.
Yeah.
So
I'm Muslim, innit? So I believe
I
in
don't
the
think that's
final
what we're saying.
revelation.
They have to take very
Because
unusual ways of looking
a
at
lot
the
of
Quran, in my
unethical
opinion.
stuff is in the Old Testament, yes? You don't honestly think we should be all going out and doing that stuff, do you?
We believe in the final
You mean like
revelation.
worshipping the golden calf? And what do you mean by that?
Well, yeah. Obviously, there is worshipping the golden calf, but also
Taking
like
idols.
you know, they sort of lapse into you know what the Bible calls idolatry and
Right, okay,
and
yeah,
child sacrifice and all this kind of stuff. They do that for a bit, but then they get corrected. They shouldn't have done it.
Who, the
So it's a
prophets
bit-
did it?
Well, I mean, the Quran it does address. Remember when I said about Solomon? So Solomon, in the later part of his years, I think it's through the women, the concubines that he takes, does engage in practices that were not becoming of him, right? Which includes other false gods. The Quran seems to know about that and seems to say, well, we don't agree with that.
Yeah.
I would think that the Quran actually thinks this is just something that people say.
Yeah, so
That's why
the way we
I think so. But
I think
Yeah.
what the Quran is trying to do is not
They're
trying to
killing
correct
everybody.
everything, because that wouldn't make like
Deuteronomy.
it
Kill
wouldn't
all
be
the children,
possible to
kill
kind
all the
of
babies,
correct everything
kill even
when
the
you don't
animals.
know everything.
Do you agree with that?
So the Quran is for a new audience.
Muslims don't have that concept.
So it wouldn't
Yeah,
be
so
like,
that's what
oh,
I'm
in the
saying.
Bible, this is wrong.
There's a
this
dodgy
is
stuff
wrong,
in the
this
Old
is wrong.
Testament,
When-
like kill
which means
everybody.
You have to go and learn
Men,
the Bible
women, children,
yourself,
even animals.
and then come back. It's not
So-
what the Quran is trying to do. It's
Should
like
we
the
be
message
doing
of the
that?
Quran is
No,
like,
the Quran-
no,
That's the
this
point
is
I'm
what you
making.
should follow.
I know I'm trying to like
Ah,
listen
sorry,
to them at the same time.
Oh yeah. So what I'm saying is, the Quran as a corrective is not trying to identify every.
Are you gonna go? Right. Well, it's a pleasure to speak to you.
Yeah, pleasure to speak to you too. Thank you very much.
No worries,
I'm just
it
conscious
was-
of my friend. I don't want to.
Oh, of course, yeah. I forgot you came with
Take
something.
care. Hopefully
Yeah,
I'll
you were
see
very
again.
good. You were very good.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
Nice to meet you guys. Assalamu alaikum.
I pray one day you become a Christian, my friend.
So
God bless you.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, the Quran as a corrective is not trying to identify all the points that are wrong with Christianity, all the points that are wrong
Then
with
it's not a
Judaism.
corrector,
No, it is. But it's not trying to
Then why is it-
identify all the mistakes,
No.
all the dodgy opinions.
Well,
all
even
the
the principles of it. So it could just simply say, Lot did not do what the,
Yes,
you know.
but that means you're assuming that all the entire audience of the Quran knows the Lord did this in the Bible. With the Quran,
It's a pretty
not-
common story.
Not for the pagan Arabs. They didn't need to know that.
The audience in this the audience in this concept wouldn't even know about Lot. So
Exactly.
yeah,
exactly. That's my
right.
whole
So
point.
when the
Quran is
Quran,
not going to introduce them to mistakes
No,
in the Bible when they don't know the
the
Bible.
Quran's author is talking to Jews and Christians at this point when it mentions the stories.
Yeah,
Because
the
what
Quran-
was the point of talking to pagans about Lot? They'll be like, oh,
Actually, no. The whole point of the Quran is actually talking to the Prophet himself and his
Yeah,
followers.
yeah, sure, yeah. But
who
it
are
is
going to follow
addressed.
the prophetic tradition, basically.
Right, but it is in dialogue with Jews and Christians, especially when he talks about
It
like
is-
Moses.
Yes, it is in dialogue with so that they could recognize this part as
Exactly,
something
yes.
similar to what they have.
Right, so-
but it's also not going to go out of it too and be like, actually, Deuteronomy chapter 3, verse
No,
2,
it doesn't
this
need to
is a
do that.
mistake.
It just
Something like that.
needs to say Lot did not actually do this. That's all it needs to do. But it doesn't.
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't
can I
do that
ask-
because it doesn't need to do that.
Yeah, can I just ask?
If it's a corrector, I think it should. Otherwise, it's a bad
Not
corrector.
necessarily. The whole point.
Sorry,
if you look at
no,
the
I
big
So, can I, just on this
Sorry,
point,
mate,
because it's
I'll
very
give it-
controversial at the moment because of the news, and it's been obviously a very difficult 2-3 years for a lot of people. So, you know, in Deuteronomy where it says kill everyone,
Yeah.
even the children, women, the children, even the farm animals.
Okay. Yeah.
It-
in particular, Numbers 31:18, and usually they go to 1 Samuel
Yes.
5:16.
Most people say that's not literally saying you go out and do it.
Right.
It's just saying they did that then. It's just a historical fact.
Right.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
So if you believe this is even true, a lot of people don't believe it's true because they believe the Bible is largely fictional.
Right.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
The atheists are a thing.
Well, no. I mean, the thing is that there is a Gnostic tradition. Christianity was originally a Gnostic religion.
No what, sorry?
Gnostic religion.
Gnostic religion.
Gnostic religion.
Oh, Gnosis.
Gnostic religion, yeah. So it was originally Gnostic, then Eusebius comes along, institutes, you have the Nicene Creed, and then it gets turned into a Orthodox religion.
Well, the Gnostics were around before Christianity.
You're off.
So I would completely disagree with that.
Okay, so, but anyway, that's besides the point. There's a lot of controversial stuff in Deuteronomy, and
Sure.
Deuteronomy is allegedly a book on laws. what you're actually supposed to do and not do. So how would you reconcile that it's saying, you know, do all this killing, and then obviously you've got this update in the gospel from the words of Jesus to love everyone as your brother, as your sister, and to show kindness. This is two extreme opposite belief systems.
No,
it's almost
you
two
can
completely different religions.
Well, I mean, like for example, in the Old Testament, forgive me, I don't remember the passage of the
And
here.
it's a source of confusion.
One second. You find in the Old Testament clear commands to be like, hey, when a foreigner enters your land, you're to treat them well, because remember, you were once slaves in Egypt. So you have this concept of love and compassion to others that are not necessarily from the tribe. In the Old Testament. I have to find this verse.
In the Old Testament?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So the point is, would you see there's a contradiction then in the Old
No,
Testament?
not at all. Like I said, I think that's fully in harm with what Christ teaches. So if in the Old Testament you can find loving passages that talk about the Gentiles, likewise they're exactly the same as Christ. There's no issue there. What you're talking about in particular, really, when we look at the extremes, would be what you said, which is the command to Moses to obliterate all things, right?
Yeah.
So the Hebrew word.
Amalek.
Yeah.
And there's also Haman, who if there's a Haman.
Usually it's the Amalekites and the Midianites.
The story of Esther, and so you know it's a lot of very, very extreme stuff. Like
So
if I were to go around and say that myself,
right,
people would say this
Yeah.
guy's pretty extreme. So,
Yeah.
but it's in the Bible.
Well, yeah. Well, lots of things are in the Bible. I mean,
So
I mean,
in
you
the,
even
in,
see
the, in the Bible,
you
is
see
some
like
of the
Satan's
most,
words are quoted in the Bible.
Yeah. So in the Bible, you've got some of the most extreme things ever committed, ink to paper.
Sorry,
And we are.
did God command that?
So yeah, ultimately, let me sort of break this down. So first of all, if you actually read it holistically, you find something interesting. The groups that are supposedly eradicated, because the Hebrew word that's used basically means annihilate completely.
And was it a
in
Hebrew
its
word
literal
or a Greek word? Was it written? Was
No,
the
it's a
Bible
Hebrew.
written in Hebrew or Greek?
So the Old Testament is Hebrew, the New
What's the
Testament is Greek,
Septuagint?
although there is
What's the Septuagint?
Aramaic as well.
What's the
The
Septuagint?
Septuagint is a Greek translation
How do
of
you
the
know it
Hebrew.
was a translation? And what did it
Because
translate?
literally it's in Greek, so it's a translation. What? Are you saying that?
How do you know
Wait, are you
the
saying that the
Septuagint
original?
is a translation? Because the Septuagint, until
We have
the
manuscripts that predate the Septuagint.
No, we don't.
Yeah, we do?
No, we don't.
What about the
Dead Sea Scrolls?
No.
100% of which were proven to be forgeries in the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
They actually DNA dated them. Every single one was a forgery.
Yeah.
Scraps of leather from satchels and belts on which somebody had scribbled some text from the modern Bible, then passed it off the Rockefeller Institute in Palestine.
I've gone outside
then
my realm of
passed it
expertise
off.
here.
Then they shut down the institute in the
All right,
1950s.
no scholar holds that view.
No,
That is-
that's not true. Don't be. Let's be
Okay,
very honest.
let me
all historical.
let me
Check
elaborate.
Museum of
No
the
respectable
Bible,
scholar holds that view.
Washington D.C.
No respectable Muslim anywhere would say that either. No one, any Jew, no one. Yeah.
Let me finish. Let me finish. Go and Google it right now on your phone. Museum
Oh,
of
I'm
the
sure I'll
Bible,
find something.
Washington D.C.
I'm sure I'll find
report
something.
just 20 years ago. Every single Dead Sea Scroll
Right, it's wrong anyway.
was
Let me
found to be
explain.
a forgery. Produced in the 1940s, allegedly found by some shepherds in a cave of all things. If you believe that story,
the Conrad caves.
nobody knew who these. By the way, nobody knew who these shepherds were for 50 years. Then in the 1990s, they produced some photos of these legendary shepherds in the 1990s, and they then found some new scrolls, which were word for word the entire Bible in the modern Hebrew version.
You went from being moderate and sensible to being absolutely off the wall
No,
insane.
no, my friend.
So okay, wait,
No,
let's
my friend.
go.
It's the other way
Let's
around.
go to your original
It's
point.
the other way
Because
around.
you said, "Oh, do I know this from the Dead Sea Scrolls? That it was original in Hebrew." No, we have Hebrew manuscripts that predate even that.
No, we don't.
Yeah, the Jews used to have written
don't.
scripture. Yes, we do.
The
Are you
highest
doing-
highest
okay,
Jew-
what's the oldest manuscripts
Okay,
we
okay,
have
my-
that
my
contain
friend, my friend,
any aspect
my
of the
friend,
Torah?
my friend, okay.
What is the oldest manuscript we have of the Torah?
Have you heard of departments?
What is the oldest manuscript we have of the Torah?
Have you heard of
You can't
departments?
answer.
Let me quick question. Have you heard of departments of biblical
The
archaeology?
oldest manuscripts that we have.
Departments
I'm
of
answering
biblical-
your first
in
question.
Oxford, in
I'm
Cambridge,
answering
in
your first.
Israel.
Why do you not want to listen now? I'm answering your first question. The oldest that we have comes from necklaces that they used to wrap around themselves that had verses of the Torah written on it. And
Jump in.
go on, one.
Okay. No, the Dead Sea Scrolls themselves are not a forgery. The original scrolls discovered in the Qumran caves are widely accepted as genuine ancient manuscripts.
Is that Wikipedia?
No, that's every
quoting?
scholar ever. That is every scholar ever. No,
my friend.
Some modern fragments.
My friend.
He's making stuff up.
You're quoting Wikipedia. If you go to the early 2000s, yeah.
Why is it that Bart Ehrman, N.T. Wright, Bruce Metzger, why all these people? I actually, you can find Jewish authorities that tell you it's authentic. You can find Christian authorities that tell you what's authentic.
He's confusing this part here.
Okay, Museum of the Bible.
Some forgeries were found
not
in
some,
a museum.
not some.
Museum of Bible.
Not some. Every single so-called Dead Sea Scroll that they had, 100% of them were forgeries.
Prove it.
100%.
Here's what you're misunderstanding.
No, it's not. No, my friend, you're going on ChatGPT. Yeah?
This doesn't deserve an answer. It's saying all the Dead Sea Scrolls are all fake. You know, all fake. You were sensible until then.
No.
You were a good conversation until then. I'm not going to entertain false. I'm not going to entertain that. No, you were sensible before. You flipped the script.
I'm a Muslim. That's all.
Muslim scholars would agree with this. Like no one says what you're saying.
So basically,
Is the Septuagint a forgery?
The Septuagint is widely agreed to be genuine up until the Rockefeller Institute was established in Palestine. No expert.
It was established in Palestine.
Yes, it was. Yes. No expert on earth because Israel didn't exist.
Mate, I'm not interested. I'm sorry, but
so you don't like the evidence?
No, I don't like the lack of evidence. That's what I don't like. I don't like so. You may as well say like.
You lost the argument.
You know, come up with any conspiracy theory you want. You know, spaghetti monster conspiracy theory. I'm not
carbon
interested.
dating of every single Dead Sea Scroll in the Museum of the Bible proved it to be a forgery.
You can have a conversation with him.
You're saying that's not evidence.
I don't think what he said. I've never met a scholar that has ever said anything like that.
The thing is, this is why you lose credibility because you deny facts.
You mean I deny what? I deny one fringe scholar maybe, and I accept
He
all of the
denied
scholars.
that there's a similarity between Jesus and Dionysus. I then quoted Justin Martyr, and he pretended he hadn't heard of it.
That's fun.
Then he admitted he had heard of it, and
All right.
it was true.
Good luck with what you do, because you'll need it.
Anyway, we'll wrap up with that camera.
So how come Jesus it went on time, and that's how.
Family, it's raining now. I think we might need to wrap up. Yeah. Thank you. Has it started now? So yeah, it's been the weather is changing, and it's now very windy. Only one Quran or 3 Qurans?
Only one Quran.
Only one? Oh, wait, but what about that? What about that? That's 2 Qurans.
2 Qurans?
Check, Uncle, check. Check. No. Ah, okay.
Where are you from? Morocco? Morocco. So in Morocco you read the Warsh Quran, right?
Warsh Quran.
Right. So we have here Hafs Quran, right? But it has different verses from Warsh.
Just some words.
But just some words. How?
No. It's same Quran because when prophets in life, Jabrail, Ange.
Yeah, an angel. Yeah.
He tell him Quran in 7 ways. 7 ways.
Yeah, but these are supposed to be dialects, right? So how can that happen?
Dialect difference, but it's just one Quran.
So if I give you a blank mushaf, yani something, a white book, yeah, what would you write inside? Which Quran would you write inside?
Each place, for example, in Morocco, we have Warsh. That's all for us. But not big difference between Quran. And it's the same. There is 7 ways, 7 Quran. But
so there's 7 Quran?
No, not Quran different. Just for example, Egypt, don't tell G, the G.
But that is the J, right? This is just like a question of the pronunciation, right? Here we saw that there's a different word, like min, a small word, but
it's good for Quran because it's become Quran bigger.
So you're saying the Quran evolved and it became bigger? There were words added to the Quran?
If one word difference, it's for example, you look difficult for me to explain.
Yes, it's difficult. But
Difficult
you know,
for me to explain
but
you.
you know, how can it be, brother? What's your name?
Abdurrahman.
Abdurrahman. My name is Grace. So tell me, how can it be if there is one? Can you hold this? Tell me, how can it be if there's one Quran up in heaven? Yeah, one Quran up in heaven, right?
One Quran?
Yeah. There's one eternal Quran up in heaven, yeah, on the tableau, right?
Yes.
Yes. So how can there be 7 now here on earth?
No, not only one. When Prophet is in life, there is 7 Quran.
Yeah.
Because Jibreel tell him Quran, and he tell him another lesson. Quran, not Prophet doesn't listen Quran. It's in his heart. Is writing in the heart of.
But what is writing? Is it written with the min or without the min? Right? And in heaven, right? I think it's, do you know the surah where it says the table in heaven? I think it's surah 85 or something.
I'm not sure.
And 21, I think it's surah 85, 21, not sure. But it says that there's one Quran up in heaven. How can there be different words now? Is it evolving?
No. I explain you. There is 7 Quran. When prophets received Quran, there is 7 Quran, not only one.
But
Not
let me
only
show you something. Let me show you something. There are more than 7 Qurans, right?
7 Qurans,
So
yes.
if he went to the internet and he said he could find 10 different Qurans. So a lady collected the different Qurans around the world, and she found many, 26 or 37. So which one is the correct Quran?
I ask you another question.
I'm asking you a
have
question.
you
Could you
have you
answer,
ate? Can you add one word in Quran? You and everyone can add one word now.
Well,
You can't.
well, I don't.
If you add one word, percentage no, it's not possible.
Okay.
It's
but-
not from Quran.
But Abdurrahman, look, if you look at this again, there is another word, right? So it shows the hafs again, shows the hafs. So here we have 26 different Qurans. You can buy them on the internet.
Not 26.
Yeah.
I don't know. There is only 7.
No.
Keep it
They
open
have-
for long because it's wet, yeah?
So, can you read this? You are from Morocco. You can read. So, do you see the min there? So
Yes.
Yes. So this is an extra word, yeah?
Min, yeah.
Min.
Okay.
It means
Yeah.
from,
And
for
the
example.
other
yeah?
there isn't here.
This is just a question we
Yes,
have,
yes.
have for you, right?
No min. This one is Quran. Muhammad received this Quran, and he received this Quran.
Okay.
Yes.
So do you
He
acknowledge that there's no
He
min?
received
Are you
7
off?
Quran.
No. Okay. Do you
He-
acknowledge
he-
that there is a different?
He received 7 Quran.
Okay.
Yeah.
But do you acknowledge?
And there isn't. You can't find one Quran with another word. Another word in this Quran. You understand?
But there is another word.
If you want, for example, you want to add one word in Quran. You are in Malaysia or I don't know where, Brazil.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
Okay.
Essaye de le faire.
Ok.
Essaye de le faire. Si tu essayes de le faire, tu ne peux pas. Si tu ajoutes un mot, je parle français maintenant, si tu ajoutes un mot, on va le découvrir. Tu ne peux pas.
If you add one word, it will
Yeah.
be discovered, he says. But you see, there is extra word. We just saw it between Hafs and what is the other recension you have?
Al-Bazi on the authority of Ibn
Al-Baz.
Kathir.
And look, brother, if you look at this, this is Hafs, right? And this is Warsh,
Yeah.
Warsh from Morocco.
Yeah.
So can you read this word? It is different words, right?
Different, yes, Bariya. Yes,
Ah,
but it's good for Quran because he's big. It's become bigger.
So you're saying the Quran is becoming bigger and it's
Yeah,
evolving?
yes, it can be.
But how can we be sure, right? Because it doesn't make sense. These are different meanings. Here it says, let's say, it says very different things, yeah? It says very different things.
Yes, different sense.
But how can it be one Quran if it says different things?
Me too, I have this problem. But
Yeah,
I
I have this
understand.
problem too.
Yes, but I understand that it's 7 Quran.
But brother, we just showed you.
Prophet. If you don't, you believe in God or not?
I believe in God, of course.
No,
And
you believe in God or not?
brother, let's continue. How can there be?
You believe in God or not?
You're
If
changing
you
the
believe
topic.
in God, He must give us one Quran,
Yeah,
one
but-
Quran to
Okay.
use it in our life.
Okay. So, but what are you saying? There are different Quranic versions, right? Or recensions, right? There are like 30 qira'ah. Yeah? Are you familiar with that? Do you know where Hafs comes from?
Yes, there is difference between Hafs and.
So, but you're saying there are only 7, yeah? There's a hadith about that. But if you count them, there are 30 qira'ah. How can you make sense of this if there's only one Quran? Ask yourself that.
I don't remember 6,000 like words. What you speak about words? Words in the.
There are many differences, but the question is, how can you trust the Quran, right? If it turns out to be evolving, how do you know that this is true?
Please, can you use my phone to translate for me?
Okay, use your phone to translate.
Thanks, Joe, by the way.
By the way, I appreciate that you talk to us.
Extended cameraman here.
I appreciate that you talk to us, and I know it's probably not easy in a second language. English is also not my first language, but this is just an honest question, right? Because we as Christians, for example, we believe that Jesus is the eternal Word of God.
Repeat, please. Repeat question.
Okay. Are you saying there's only one Quran, or are you saying there are different Quran? If there's only one Quran, how can you explain why do you say it is evolving?
تعتقد أن هناك قرآن واحد أم أن هناك عدة مصاحف؟ إذا كان هناك قرآن واحد فقط فكيف تفسر ذلك؟ ولماذا تقول أنه يتطور؟
Yeah, we have to wrap it up too because it's raining. Yeah.
And we've got this guy praying in front of us.
لما نزل القرآن نزل على 7 أحرف ونقش في قلب الرسول نقش في قلب الرسول على 7 أحرف وكلها من الله كل هذه الأحرف من الله.
Yeah, so basically his point is that all the 7 ahruf are, but you repeat yourself. We are asking you why are the different qira'at?
It was revealed in 7 letters and it was engraved in the heart of the messenger.
Yeah.
It was engraved in the heart of the messenger in 7 letters.
So
And
when
all
the
of
Quran
them
was
are from
revealed,
God.
It was revealed in 7
All of these letters are
ahruf
from
means
God.
Wait, I change.
I understand, Uncle, I understand what you're saying.
Yes? Yes, you can.
how can it be one Quran that you're saying if it is 7, and why are there more than the 7, right? And how?
We might have to wrap it up because it's just a language.
I don't think it's just a language barrier. I think he's realizing that he is saying the same thing and has no answers.
Maybe.
But also he's an old man. So I respect you for the conversation, but would you please answer the question, like, what is the Quran? If you have a blank mushaf, what would you write?
أنا أحترمك على هذه المحادثة ولكن هل يمكنك من فضلك الإجابة عن سؤال واحد مثل هذا القرآن إذا كان لديك قراءة فماذا ستكتب؟ إذا كان لديك قراءة فماذا ستكتب؟ All All Quran is good for me. All
Quran is good
all
for you?
Quran, all Quran, yes.
Okay,
All
but
Quran.
if you had a blank mushaf, a blank book, yeah, can I write it there? If you had a blank mushaf, a blank book, what would you write? Which Quran version, which Qira'ah would you write inside?
لو كان لديك دفتر فارغ فماذا تكتب بداخله أي نسخة من القرآن تكتب؟ All mushaf is good for me. No difference. No difference. No difference. I respect all. But if you take another mushaf, not this seven mushaf, I don't accept.
Okay, you accept only 7. Which are the 7?
Each one is good for me. It's
So,
good.
but
Good accept for you. Each one you use.
But brother, uncle,
because there isn't contradiction.
yeah,
No
but
contradiction.
we just show, look. There are many contradictions. You say it's 7, but here we've got more. Then you say there are no contradictions and no added words, but we just showed you from Surah At-Tawbah, Surah 9, verse 100, that there are even words added, right? So it's 100. Then before you said it's just a difference between the different Arabic dialects like Jim and J, yeah, Gim and J. But that's not the case. We saw that there are different words. So how would you respond to that, right? You say 7. Which 7 is it? Which 7? I want you to think about this, right?
Yes. Each one you choose is good for you.
Each one.
Listen me. For example, in one في أحد المصاحف انظر إلى العظام كيف ننشرها ثم نكسوها لحما.
If one of the Qurans look at the bones, how we spread them out and then cover them with flesh. So you mean the razm?
ثم نكسوها لحما. Cover with char.
Yeah, but you cannot just interpret.
Here's the difference. This small. ننشرها. Another. Look. ننشرها. Is it just one dot? One dot. It becomes ننشزها.
So
ننشزها is different, but it's good for Quran because each one explains for you something.
But
it's
okay,
good.
so your point is now that they add up the meaning, yeah, they add up the meaning. But I've just showed you it makes a really different meaning if you go to Surah 98 verse 7, verse 6. It's a different, whether it is what's the difference? Whether it's the innocent that are going to hell or the creatures. So it's very different. This is
in Hafs says
it's different.
Okay, so in Hafs it says.
In Hafs it says that it is like just the creatures, yeah. And here it says that they are innocent. It makes a difference whether Christians go to hell or not.
Yes, I understand that.
Written differently, yes.
Okay.
ليس هناك اختلاف في العقائد، هناك اختلاف في معارف إضافية فقط. There isn't no difference in beliefs.
You're saying there are no difference? No.
One mushaf God, there is God and fish and
no, but you know there are differences.
Another Quran, there is one God. No, there's a big difference.
There are different.
No difference, just.
No. Because you believe that there's only one Quran in heaven, that it is eternal. If it is eternal, how and sent down, how can it be so different? And it does make difference for the beliefs. For example, it does make a difference who goes to hell, right? That's important. And for example, it does make differences. For example, who forgot what and so on. Okay, so.
Don't afraid you are going to the paradise. Me and you
yes.
and all more.
You know, can I tell you something? Who goes to paradise?
Don't
right?
afraid. God,
Uncle. So it's getting cold. Do you know who goes to paradise? Are you familiar with the concept of fidya, the ransom? Right? Did not God say to Sayyidina Ibrahim that he has to slaughter his son? Yeah. So what happened? Did he slaughter his son, or did somebody else come?
God. Well, listen. God does what he wants in
What
the
did?
world.
Yes, exactly. And what? Yeah, Abdurrahman.
I am not obliged to God. I am not tell to God do that or not.
Exactly,
God,
exactly.
So
Abdurrahman.
Look. God has created you beautiful.
Thank you. But you know what?
What is better than that?
So we're talking about paradise, right? You know what God did? He gave a ransom for the son of Ibrahim, and this ransom, the kapsha, it died instead of the son of Sayyidina Ibrahim. Correct? Right? And whose idea was that? That was God's idea. What did Sayyidina Ibrahim do? Did he accept this ransom? Did he accept the fidya? Yes.
God wants to know if Ibrahim respects God or not. You must respect what I tell you. I ask you to excuse me because my English is.
Yes.
I can't speak with you for a long time. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
So, but the point is, there was a ransom. Yeah. So, and Abraham accepted the ransom, right?
Yeah.
So, if God wanted, He can give another ransom, and He did. He gave a ransom, fidya, for you and me.
Yeah.
So, study that because you will learn about that ransom. If you look into the Bible, into the Injil, yeah, you will find somebody who says he's the big ransom. Yeah. So, I invite you to study the Bible, the Injil, and look for the ransom and what Sayyidina Isa, Sayyidina Yeshua al-Masih, what he says about himself. He says, I came to lay down my life as a ransom for many. So the point, the idea of the ransom fidya is God's idea. So we must not reject it. The same as Sayyidina Ibrahim accepted the ransom, I invite you to accept the ransom. God bless you very much, because this ransom is the way to heaven, right? So it was a pleasure. Thank you for the conversation.
Thank you.
Be optimistic.
Do your research, Uncle.
You have YouTube. You have Shamsi YouTube.
We have a YouTube.
Soko Films, Sunday Speakers Corner.
My channel is called Grace Networks. Grace Networks.
You have Shamsi YouTube.
Do you can do it.
I can give you a channel.
Give it a channel.
I think you might want to see the video. Do you want to do a wrap up as well to let everyone know what happens?
Is not strong.
You can do the rapper. I'm gonna recommend Brother Rashid to you.
I think you did most of the talking, so it'd be better to come from you, just to give the audience a. We'll give it to you after, Uncle. We'll give it to you after the
Okay.
channel.
Okay, wrap up, praise.
Okay, so we were talking about difference in the words where they added actually a preposition min, yeah. Timothy found it out, and then this uncle Abdurrahman, he came and saw. So we asked him several questions, yeah, why there are differences. First, he said that there are like differences in the pronunciation, like in Egyptian English they say jim and in gim, and in the other ones they say jim, right? Yeah. So then he said, well, there are 7 ahruf. I said, yeah, that's from the hadith. And so we had several questions, and he could basically answer none of them. He needs to do his research. He couldn't answer which are the correct 7 ahruf. He was also confronted with the fact that there are more than that there are different versions of the Quran, as you can see. There are different versions, yeah. So, and he couldn't make up his mind. He could not make up his mind whether there's one Quran which is evolving or several Qurans. Because when I asked him the question, if there's a blank mushaf, what would you write inside, right? The same as Yasser Qadi did. He had no answer, right? So that's it. So in the end, we encouraged him, because he said, I go to paradise if I believe in God, and I do believe in God. So I encouraged him to look for the ransom, So, a respectful conversation. Thank you.
Very nice conversation.
Thank you, Mr.
God bless you. Whose phone is this?
This is his phone.
Okay, I got confused for a second.
Can you hold this?
Yeah, I'll hold this.
And that's a wrap.
They have a channel. It's called.
Yeah, give you all the channels.
Yeah, everybody subscribe to these channels as well. We've got Soko Films, we've got Sunday Speakers Corner right here, we've got Speakers Corner Revival, we've got Revelation 22:13. Subscribe, support the channel, and Grace Networks as well, yeah. Shout out to Joel on camera, by the way.
We're going to do like a notification. Family, we live in now because it's raining. And yeah, it's cold.
So since you're from Morocco,
I think nothing's happening.
Yeah.
Where's this having a conversation? I don't know what that's saying.
For example, Brother Rashid has one.
It's getting a bit dry.
But in the meantime, yeah, keep the uncle in your prayers, because these are the type of uncles we like to reach out, show them the different Qurans and motivate them, to do their own research. So that's what we want, the all Muslims. Don't take our word for it. Just go do your own research and then make an informed decision on whether you still think that there's only one Quran from Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. But anyway, love you, family. Take care, yeah? And Paul, thank you. All the members, thank you. And yeah, keep on recommending the channels. Support the family here. Love you all. Have a blessed week. And see you soon. Take care.